Hello to all my fellow glorious Gaians. Thank you for joining me, Amber, on my channel, Guidance Through Gaia, where I do tarot pick-a-card readings. If this is your first time here, welcome, and I hope that you find something useful today. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for giving me another opportunity to read your energy. Now, I'm going to leave a timestamp down in the description box so that if you don't want to listen to me be a little chatty for a few minutes, you can jump straight ahead to the pile selection where we will talk about the topic of the video and the mechanics of the reading itself. But if you don't mind listening to me ramble for a few minutes, then I want to share with you a comment that reminds me of a story in my life. So I always try to express my appreciation for the comments that you guys leave, whether that's like letting me know that you resonated with something or leaving positive feedback, but even feedback that is constructive criticism, because it helps me grow as a reader. One such comment was from someone who expressed that they enjoyed the reading, but and I can't think about this without laughing, but they remarked about my huffing and my sighing, which if you're watching this video, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention, okay? It's something I know that I do, but I'm not always aware that I'm doing it at the time. And it makes me think of a patient that I once had. So a couple of years ago, I had a patient, I'm a CNA, and I remember approaching her room because her call light was on, and I asked her like, hey, what can I do for you? And she looked at me and she was like, daughter, why do you always sigh? Now, she called me daughter because she was Somali, and so if any of you viewers are part of the Somali community, hey! But I looked at her and I was like, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I did that. So that became kind of a running gag for her because she was such a trickster. She was so funny. And she'd look at me and she'd be like, and just have me busting up laughing. Like, even to this day, one of my coworkers and I like bring her up in that where they'll be like, Amber, do you remember when she teased you about sighing so much? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So I just wanted to share, especially for that particular commenter, like, that I know I do it. I know I do it. I've been called out on it in my real life. But sometimes I'm not aware that I'm doing it at the time. So that's one of those things that I will try to improve upon. So if you don't hear me breathing for 20 seconds, it's because I feel myself wanting to sigh and I'm holding back on it. Anyway, now that I've shared that with you, let's get into the topic and mechanics of this reading here. So the topic of the reading is, what is the beauty underneath the stress or the struggle of your situation? Now, we're not talking about the beauty of the stress or the struggle, because that's a whole different concept. And honestly, I don't want to romanticize like frustration or pain or struggle. What I want to look at is what beautiful aspect of your situation are you maybe not noticing because of feeling like overwhelmed, if that makes sense. Because that can give us a different perspective on a situation to where we may feel like it's worth continuing through, or that maybe it provides context that allows us to feel less stressed. Okay, so how we're going to be doing that is we're going to be looking through tarot at the specific situation. Now, when I say specific, I'm hoping I get big specifics, but with tarot and with trying to read for a collective, sometimes it still can be a little bit more generic in what it's describing, but sometimes we do get more fine details. It just depends on what's coming through. And then with some oracle cards, we are going to be getting, I almost felt myself sigh there. We're going to be getting information about like what the beauty of the situation is, to give you a little bit of hope or a little bit of relief, and then we will be getting some advice. I did go a little bit outside of my comfort zone, and I decided to do 4 piles today instead of 3. But that's just really what I was feeling called to do. And now let's get into the identifiers here. So for pile 1, we have the bloodstone. Can't really see it very well with this, but it's like a very dark green and it's got some red flecks in there. And then we have the 3 of Swords card in reverse. Pile number 2, we have the Peacock ore. And we have the 4 of Coins in reverse. Pile number 3, this is, I think, some kind of agate. And we have the Temperance card. And then pile number 4, we have Tiger's Eye. And the King of Coins in reverse. So go ahead and choose your pile or piles, and I will see you at your reading. Bye. Hello, group number 1. If you chose the Bloodstone or the 3 of Swords in reverse, this will be a reading about the beauty underneath the struggle of your situation. So we have here the 3 of Swords in reverse, and this is a card that's taken from a deck where all of the cards represent myths and folklores and fairy tales from across the world. We're also going to be using a different deck to look at the specific situation, and this will give you an indication of if this reading is correct for you or not. If you feel like that description doesn't really meet any situation in your life, I would recommend maybe checking out another pile. After we do that, though, we have some pre-shuffled oracle cards to talk about what the beauty of the situation is. And then we also have some other oracle cards to talk about some advice on how maybe you can shift your mindset from the struggle itself into the beauty. Now, this may be a lengthier reading. I do intend to utilize the resource of the books for the various oracle decks after I do like an initial intuitive reading of the cards themselves. But that being said, let's get into it. So this card right here comes from a tale called Crane Wife. It's from Japan. I will do the synopsis here from the book. Here we go. So it says, the 3 of Swords represents betrayal. The Crane Wife asks her husband for privacy, but he spies on her, only to discover she was hurting herself to help him. His spying was treacherous, but so was her inability to trust him with her secret. Now, we do have this in the reverse, which signals overcoming grief, optimism, reconciliation, forgiveness, and seeking help. But I want to use this deck right here to provide a more specific context of that energy. Okay. So what struggle is group number 1 experiencing right now? Please, Spirit, tell me, show me, guide me, what struggle group number 1 is experiencing right now. What struggle is group number 1 going through right now? We've got the 6 of Wands in reverse. We've got the Queen of Swords in reverse. We've got the Lovers in reverse. And we've got the Star in reverse here. Wow. This is a pretty heavy energy, group number 1. This to me feels like an attempt at reparations, right? An attempt at fixing something. We've got the Six of Wands in reverse here, and what this signals to me is that there's this feeling of failing. Okay? This feeling of no efforts have been successful, that things have not turned out the way that you've wanted them to, that attempts have been rebuffed, or there just hasn't been success. But we've got the Queen of Swords in reverse here, and to me that's a feeling of like stubbornness, a feeling of like, I'm not going to give up, a feeling of really dedicated to the vision that you have, but also feeling very frustrated. It feels as if you have had, that you've tried so many different routes and you're not seeing what other possibilities there are. It feels like you've exhausted your resources. And we've got the Lovers here in reverse, which can talk sometimes about... Oh, sorry, I just sighed. Hopefully I didn't catch it on camera. Feeling like almost not having a choice. I kind of want to get a clarifier for this. I guess I'm going to get a couple. Okay, we've got the Three of Pentacles, but the Eight of Wands in reverse. Okay, the Three of Pentacles is about working together. It's teamwork, it's cooperation, but the Eight of Wands in reverse can signal things going slowly or things coming to a halt. So it feels like maybe you're trying to make progress in a situation, but it's not going at the speed that you want it to. Or the connection isn't developing in the way that you want it to. This could be, I do feel for a lot of you that this is probably going to involve another person. But that doesn't have to be the case. I just think of it as like when we look at the Three of Swords, that, you know, I'm thinking of like pain that involves another person, or the Three of Swords in reverse talking about trying to make amends, trying to heal something that's involved another person. And then we've got like the Three of Pentacles here, which talks, as I mentioned earlier, about cooperation, partnership. And we've got the Lovers, which often signifies like a romantic love, but I don't necessarily feel that this has to be romantic. It could be. And for a lot of you, it may be, but this could also, I would see as something to do with like a friend, maybe even a coworker if there's been kind of a falling out or some tension between the two of you. This could have to do with like trying to repair a relationship with like a child or a parent or another family member. We've got the Star in reverse here. I want to get a clarifier for that. I've got the Knight of Swords in reverse as well. Excuse me, the King of Swords. That fancy script sometimes. It's hard to read upside down. The Star in reverse can talk about lacking hope or feeling hope diminish, right? It's about having a dream, having a desire, a longing for something, but not seeing it actualized. And we've got the King of Swords in reverse here, which can talk about, once again, maybe your mentality just being overwhelmed with how things haven't worked out, or feeling as if you've tried everything, you've exhausted your resources. We could also potentially see the King of Swords in this reading in reverse as being somebody else who is more guarded, right? And you're struggling to kind of figure out how to get past their barriers, how to get past their defenses. In this storyline here, we have two people who didn't trust each other. You know, they loved each other very deeply, but he didn't trust his wife enough not to spy on her, and she didn't trust him enough to tell him the truth about what she was doing, right? So there does seem to be in this situation maybe a lack of trust, a lack of confidence, or just some barriers that have been constructed, or have maybe, if they were there before the connection as a result of maybe other things in life, they're barriers that haven't been dissolved, or removed, let down. And so the frustration here for you is you want to see success, but everything you're trying just doesn't lead to anything. It's going too slowly. The other person maybe isn't cooperating in the way that you want them to. Barriers are still up, and you're feeling disheartened by this. So what we're going to be looking at now is we're going to be looking at the beauty, right, of what's underneath all of this. Not the beauty of the struggle, but something that you can take a step back at and look and go, oh, this is there. This foundation, this enjoyable part, this appreciation is there, so that maybe the struggle here isn't so overwhelming. So first we've got card 42 with release. We've got truth. We've got Dakini, the enlightened feminine. My gut instinct is wise beyond reason. I trust my intuition to guide me. And we've got the teak tree, superiority, with the unswerving direction of your inner being is that of self-renewal. Begin anew at every ending. So, first and foremost, what I've noticed is that here in two cards, we have depictions of swords or knives, which we also have here. And that talks about thought. It talks about communication. The beauty that we have here is that there is truth. I think whatever the situation is between the two of you, you both have been honest with each other. So this person isn't completely closed off. This isn't somebody who I believe is like ghosting you or completely shutting you out. They're giving you information that they have the bandwidth to provide at the time. The two of you have, I think, talked through a lot of whatever frustrations or pain is there. So, for instance, if there was an argument as a friend, as a family member, as a coworker, the two of you have discussed what happened and how you were feeling. That's a level of openness that not a lot of people have with each other sometimes. And I think that's something that's worth really valuing, because you could have chosen to keep your feelings to yourself. This person could have chosen to keep their feelings to themselves. And there would be no cooperation at all. But instead, you've respected each other enough and been honest with each other about how you're feeling. So you have that information there. And people don't communicate with people that they don't really care about in that way, you know? If somebody doesn't care about repairing a relationship with you, or if they don't care about developing a deeper relationship with you, they don't express themselves. They just don't, because if that relationship doesn't matter to them, then what's the point of communicating, right? So you can rest assured that even though they are still guarded, they've communicated with you because they care about the relationship with you. I think it's also, even if you haven't had an argument with this person, even if there hasn't been any betrayal, but maybe they have walls up, the fact that they've explained maybe that they were hurt in a previous relationship, or they're just slower to trust people. Maybe they've reassured you, like, this has nothing to do with you, you've done nothing wrong. That's probably a big step for them. People don't always feel comfortable being that vulnerable. I feel like this is also a person who listens to you. They take what you have to say into consideration. It might just take longer for them to process. But if I don't care about how someone views me or about my relationship with that person, I'm not really going to give a shit what they have to say to me, So if I don't care about making my work environment easier for people, I'm not going to pay attention to the critiques that they have, right? Where, I'm trying to think of a real world example here. Okay, so an example I can give. This is a little bit different. But as somebody who cares about other people and being like a CNA, I try to pay attention to the needs of my clientele and treating them as individuals. So there are patients and residents I have where I know their routine really well. I know the person who wants to go do bingo in the afternoon. So if they have a shower that day, I'm going to go and make sure that they get their shower before lunch. So that way they can enjoy bingo. I know the person who likes coffee with every meal. So if I don't see coffee on their meal tray, I'm going to get them coffee because I care about our relationship. I care about the impact that I have on their stay in this facility. Even in the beginning of this video, I talked about a patient of mine a couple of years ago who was teasing me about sighing all the time. Being a CNA is very physically demanding, and it's also sometimes mentally demanding. you're dealing with sometimes like patient deaths, resident deaths. You're dealing with sometimes with a lot of demanding tasks. You're dealing sometimes with people who are having a rough day. There's a lot that's competing for your attention as a CNA, and it can be very draining. And so sometimes my voice kind of betrays what I'm feeling. But I never like want to make somebody feel like I'm not happy to help them, right? Like I never want to make somebody feel like they are a burden on me. So even though like my patient was kind of teasing me about sighing all the time, I took it seriously, right? Like, oh, I'm doing this. Okay, I need to be more aware of how I'm communicating because I don't want her to feel like I don't want to help her or anything. And I explained that I was just tired and it had been a long day, but I try to be more conscientious of my verbal expressions, right? So there's beauty in the fact that even if you're not at the place you want to be with at this person yet, there's still active communication. They are opening up more. They're being honest with you. They're listening to your truth. We have the enlightened feminine with my gut instinct is wise beyond reason. I trust my intuition to guide me. And then the teak tree with superiority. The unswerving direction of your inner being is that of self-renewal. Begin anew at every ending. There's beauty in not giving up on this. Neither one of you have given up on this. Whether this is a romantic relationship, a friendship, a family relationship, a professional one. If the two of you have had disagreements or struggles, the both of you are willing to work through it. The fact that both of you care enough to want to continue engaging with each other and repair this is beautiful. Or even, maybe this person is just a naturally guarded person and it has nothing to do with you. But they've been like hurt in the past or something else is bothering them. The fact that they're wanting to open up to you, to let you into their life, even if it's at a slower pace, there's beauty in that too. Because they might not be somebody who is trusting of somebody else easily. They may not be somebody who is comfortable being vulnerable with other people. And for you, likely because of how you approach them, the way that you present yourself, the history the two of you have, what may be, they're feeling more comfortable with doing that, even if it's just saying like, I just need some time, right? And my gut instinct is wise beyond reason. I trust my intuition to guide me. I think another thing that's beautiful, another thing you can anchor yourself to when you're feeling frustrated, is that you have more knowledge now than you did in the past. As a result of the conversations that the two of you have, or as a result of getting to know this person more, as a result of like being vulnerable yourself. I think it's also, there's beauty in the fact that like you know each other, right? You're getting to a point, I don't think this is necessarily like a brand new connection. Even if this doesn't have the strongest history behind it, this is a connection where you're starting to grow accustomed to each other a little bit. You're growing more in tune with each other. And so when we talk about my gut instinct is wise beyond my reason, I trust my intuition to guide me. There's beauty in that, like, you can trust this situation, even if it's frustrating, because I think of how the two of you have interacted with each other and the consistency that you've seen, but also, like, you're growing closer together or you're rekindling your bond. So you're developing this skill, or you're reigniting this skill of where both of you kind of know when to push and when to pause, right? Like, you have a better understanding of when it's appropriate to maybe try to progress this connection or help them open up a little bit more. But you also have the understanding of, like, when you need to maybe give them time, maybe when you need to give them space. And I think they do the same thing for you. But overall, and I do want to get into the booklets themselves, but by and large, I think the beauty of this situation is you are communicating with each other. There's a desire there, like, of honesty, communication, connection, working things out, being considerate of each other's needs. You've gotten a lot of the, I would say, maybe like difficult, ugly truths or painful aspects out of the way. You're gaining more knowledge. You're understanding the situation on a more intimate level. And the fact that there's this continued growth or this reignition of the relationship itself is really beautiful. But let's just get into these booklets here, because this may contain some information that's a little bit, that adds more to how you can see this from a more positive frame of view. So we've got 42 with release. Without delay, cut the cords to any unhealthy or toxic people, places, energy, habits, and beliefs. This is a time to stand in your truth without cutting anyone down in the process. Meditate on this when you want to be the spiritual warrior with love, honor, and compassion. And you know, I feel like the two of you have been able to do this in a really respectful way. Like, this person cares about you enough that they're not trying to diminish you. They're not trying to antagonize you. They're going to trust you with what they have to say. And they're also going to do it in a way that's respectful. And then it says the symbol is the, sorry for mispronouncing this, kirpan. The kirpan is a ceremonial dagger carried by baptized Sikhs. It cuts through negative energy and upholds the saint soldier creed that devotees of the Sikh religion embrace. Yeah, you guys have cut through so much of the negative stuff already. Now it's about either building or rebuilding together. The negative stuff is gone from, it's gone. It's in the past. It's out of the way, if there was any negative stuff between the two of you at all. Now we're going to get into the Truth card. And we have, in front of a dramatic sky, this card shows a mirror image of a warrior woman meeting her own reflection. With swords drawn, it seems conflict may be near, but the all-seeing eye of truth presides, serving as a poignant reminder that what is done to another is ultimately done to the self. Oh, God. Yeah. The double-edged sword, capable of separation and liberation, symbolizes dual powers of nature, such as life, death, and victory, defeat. Like a sword, truth is a sharp instrument worthy of the greatest respect. Depending on how they are wielded, both have the ability to destroy or heal. Only the maturity and wisdom of the user determines the outcome. In tarot, the suit of swords represents navigation of thought and the unseen realm of the mind, but when it comes to the application of truth, the unruly mind cleverly justifies all manner of things and distracts us away from our alignment to love. Fear poses many challenges along the path to discovering the liberation of truth. Reactions of others, guilt, and insecurity distract and rob us of the opportunity to clearly identify the truth of the matter. The presence of this powerful card is a call for authentic freedom. Bravely face your fears, step into the light of love, and examine the essence of the situation. Rather than facing facts, perhaps you have been in a state of avoidance. If this is the case, it could be a reminder to sort the wheat from the chaff so you can see clearly to move beyond the gravitational pull of old patterns. You may also be searching for the reality behind your relationships to others, or the deeper meaning of life and your place and purpose in it. Seeking the truth is a worthy quest on any level and can provide a significant opportunity for liberation and growth. See where this card falls within your spread, as the surrounding cards help provide context for understanding how truth applies to you at this time. So, if we take that literally, we've got release here and then enlightenment. Okay, so being authentic with each other, expressing yourselves, brings you to a better understanding of what's going on and where they stand. We've got the enlightened feminine. I forgot this one is not, what's it called? Alphabetic. So 130. Who she is. Dakini is the embodiment of a feminine wisdom that goes beyond reason or the intellect. Dakini is translated into Tibetan as sky-goer. She is a tantric priestess and a female manifestation of wisdom. She is elusive, playful, and ultimately defies definition. She represents the enlightened feminine principle of non-duality that transcends gender. She contains a sharp, quick, and uncompromising energy that can feel radical, wild, and free. As a space dancer and sky-goer, the Dakini has left the rigid boundaries of Earth and the laws of gravity. She is about the limitlessness of the sky, and because of all possibilities are open to her. In Tibetan Buddhism, she represents the inner realm as a meditation deity, the outer realm as a tantric yogini, and the mundane realm as a woman who teaches spiritual truths in each moment of her everyday life. She holds the gold tantric staff, Katvanga, as a symbol of the ultimate union she has attained, ecstatic bliss and emptiness. Yeshi Sogyal is one of the great Dakinis in Buddhist history. She can appear as a messenger, a guide, or as a protector. She is known for being unruly in whatever she does because the ordinary rules of conduct don't apply to her. No man rules her, and a taste of freedom is what she wants to give of us most of all. Another thing that's beautiful, that's making me think of this, okay? This is a situation where the both of you can be absolutely who you are and express yourselves, and the other person doesn't shy away from it. This is a connection where the both of you can be your true authentic selves, and it's received by the other person. Like, you don't have to temper yourself. You don't have to lessen who you are. Like, this person and you just kind of accept each other. When your soul selects her card, the Dakini means that the task will be accomplished. Whatever it is you're currently working on, a project, an answer, or a decision, she will help you see you through to the other side. In whatever form you need most, as a playful angelic presence, as a taskmaster to help you maneuver through what's hard, or as a messenger with the wisdom that's needed for you to take that next step. But with the Dakini, the answer and the way forward is not with the intellect. She is the embodiment of feminine intuition. She reminds you that you have an innate power to know instinctively what's best for you now. The Dakini means it's not going to be a straight, clear yes or no. With the Dakini, it's the third option. She reminds us that there's something out beyond yes and no, or even right and wrong. There's something your gut will tell you if you can be expansive enough to hear the answer. She is not bound by the usual or by the expected. She will allow you to come up with the unthinkable, the most imaginative, and the most brilliant outcome possible. Soul voice meditation. What is my intuition telling me in this moment? Intention. My gut instinct is wise beyond reason. I trust my intuition to guide me. And then finally, we will get into 49, the teak tree with superiority. You will find yourself in a position of great strength. The massive teak with its rough green oval leaves that span half the length of a human symbolizes this. A crown of glory will be bestowed upon you like the whitish flower sprays that crown the foliage. One success will lead to another as surely as the feathery seed containers that follow bring hopeful and mysterious potential. So for a lot of you, you can reflect on other ways, like the progress that you've made, right? So maybe it was having to have a tough conversation. Then you had the conversation. Maybe it was making adjustments to the connection, asking for adjustments, and then adjustments were made. Maybe it was you hadn't seen each other for a long time, and now you're reconnecting. Okay, so there are milestones that you can reflect on when you look back at it. And both of you are, it seems, committed to making this work. It just might be at a different pace. As teak is so durable, a situation of permanence is presenting itself. You retain your nature like seasoned wood that survives for thousands of years without splitting, shrinking, or altering shape. And literally, we talked about how you don't have to be different to be accepted in this connection. You are strong and stand above the rest like the superior teak. Okay? So you can communicate your truth, you're honest with each other, you respect each other, you listen to each other, you don't have to shrink yourself. You can be authentically who you are, and you both are committed to this growth, and you can reflect back on previous situations with this person and see like where there has already been growth. Even if this isn't a situation where there's been a falling out, I would challenge you to look back and if they're just like a guarded person, think back to times when you started to notice their guard coming down a little bit, right? So now we're going to get into tarot here. Not tarot. Oh, more oracle cards. And we're going to see what advice the universe has for you on how you can maybe lessen the frustration here of the barriers that are up, or the slower pacing of things, and how you can focus more on the positives down here. Okay. This is Cibation, purify, cleanse, and release. Oh. You know, this could have to do with like a childhood wound of yours where maybe you felt abandoned, or where you felt you weren't provided for, and so you might be frustrated because you're feeling like this person isn't going to actually take your needs into consideration. Maybe you're afraid they're going to ghost you, or they're going to just completely stonewall you, or that they will withhold from you. And so this could be a call. We'll get into the booklet here. This could be a call for you to really heal that wound of yours so that you can learn to appreciate the strengths that the both of you have together. And really not just appreciate it, but enjoy the connection for what it is. Instead of worrying about like where it's going or what's holding it back. So, like a bountiful freshwater stream feeding into the depths of a river, you are continuing to empower the gold of your sun as you move toward obtaining the Philosopher's Stone. Without this natural process, the large bodies of water on Earth would completely dry up. When the Cibation card appears in an oracle reading, your inner transformation requires clean fuel to stay embodied in your light. Just when you feel you have moved on, difficult or painful memories of the past can appear during this part of the process. Now is the time to sit with these emotions and allow them to be released from your consciousness. Oh my God, we have the release here. Taking time to practice self-care, physically crying, and displaying your anger are all powerful ways to work through this phase. While emotional displays can be frightening at times, this is what is needed to stay on your path toward ascension. 15th century alchemist Sir George Ripley stated that Cibation is called a feeding of our dry matter with milk and meat. In other words, libation is the process of continuously feeding your alchemical vessel with pure material in order to continue embodying your light. Alchemy gets practical during this stage. This is where new habits, thought processes, and ways of being are implemented into your life. This is done by feeling negative emotions from past challenges and alchemizing them through release. Mind over matter is key. So the shadow work. Processing difficult memories is a powerful form of shadow work. This phase also can be completed with the help of tools like talk therapy and energetic healing work like Reiki, pranic healing, meditation, or breath work. Feed your newly formed soul with restorative healing. Reflect and release the pain and shadows from the past. Oh, beautiful. This could simply be somebody who is, moving at a slower pace. It could also be that, like, you're scared of cycles repeating with this person, like if there has been a painful situation, and it could be that there might not be indication that painful situation is going to reoccur, but your mind is taking you to that place because you have such a deep connection to it. So yeah, I think this is really focus on processing those negative feelings, those insecurities, those negative experiences, so you can cleanse them out of your system, rewire yourself, and walk through this connection with more trust and faith. And then we'll get one more card. I'm not taking those. One more. Okay. Reclaiming the Goddess, card 30. You are a temple of ancient memories, a well of mystery, a vessel of eternity. You, powerful soul, are the goddess form and formless. You hold the ancient teachings, the lost lineages of magic, the frequencies of Venus, the seeds of all creation. You are the future of the new earth, dear goddess. The feminine is the highest incarnation of creativity on this planet. There is no future without this reclamation. You must call back your creative power, your ancient wisdom and cosmic vision, and awaken to the mystery of your eternal heart. This card is calling you to remember the ways of the goddess, the ways of ritual, adornment, sacred sexuality, healing, creativity, mysticism, and compassion. Allow the ritual to awaken your feminine power. I'm going to get a little sticker because, I don't want YouTube to get mad at me. The ritual. This ritual is best performed in a bathtub, shower, or outside on the earth. Infuse dried rose petals in hot water for 33 minutes. Close your eyes and breathe long and deeply into your heart and your belly for a few minutes. Now imagine there is a glowing pomegranate seed in your sacral chakra. This is the seed of the feminine holding all her potential. Imagine that around the seed there is a grid of light that begins to expand throughout all of your body. Bring the energy of this seed up through all your chakras and out into your aura. Focus on this energy for a few moments as it illuminates through your entire being. When you are ready, take the rose of infusion you made and slowly pour it over your head, breathing in the scent and energy of the rose as you do so. Recite the following. I awaken the goddess within to unlock the ancient mysteries encoded within my being. I open to all the lost wisdom lineages of the goddess. I vow to carry these teachings forward to be a voice for all that is sacred now. Return some of the water with roses to the earth. Rest in the sensual delight of this energy as you move throughout your day. Now, you can certainly do that. You don't have to. This might be for people who are looking for a more physical experience or who are more into spiritual practices. Otherwise, what I would say is definitely work on building up your self-confidence, because this could be something that's affected by insecurities. Maybe feeling like you're going to be abandoned, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling like there's not enough love or care for you there. I think this could also be a recommendation for simply doing something creative. That can be writing, painting, exercise, that's creating movement, right? Singing, working on a business, something that you can put yourself into that doesn't necessarily revolve around this situation, so that you can, one, kind of get your mind off of the stress of this, but two, also see success in something that doesn't have anything to do with this. And it gives you a feeling of empowerment, right? Because we can't control what someone else is doing. And I don't think this person is doing anything wrong. I think that there's just a hesitancy there, or a different style of communication. Maybe they are healing their own things, or just going more slowly. And instead of focusing on that and being frustrated that there hasn't been more progression, working on healing your own wounds and working on creating things outside of this connection can really take the pressure off of this, so that you can appreciate the communication that is between the two of you, so that you can appreciate how much closer you're getting, or, you know, reflect on the ways that, like, you've seen progress with barriers coming down. Appreciate the fact that whether this is a connection that's had a falling out but is now kind of on the mend, this person is choosing to repair with you, or if this is a connection where it's like this person might be more defensive naturally, but they're choosing to get closer to you. And that is a really beautiful thing. You know, I know it can be frustrating when it isn't progressing the way that we want it to, but being able to nurture ourselves and feel confident in ourselves and appreciate a situation for what it is, and not focusing necessarily on what we want it to be, I think that'll make the connection between the two of you even more enjoyable. So group number one, if you enjoyed this reading, please let me know in the comment section down below, or if you have any suggestions. If you would like this video, that'd be a great help. And if you haven't done so, but you would like to be a part of the family, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload a new video. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 4. If you chose the Peacock or the 4 of Coins in reverse card, this will be your reading about the beauty underneath the struggle of your situation. So we are going to start by looking at the energy of this card, and then using a different tarot deck to look at the specific situation. This should give you an indication on if this reading is the right one for you, if this is the right pile. If you don't feel that the information provided is indicative of any situation you're undergoing, I would highly recommend you choose a different pile. But if you feel connected to the information that's revealed, we are then going to look at what the positive in your situation is using these oracle cards, and then we will get 2 different oracle decks to get some advice for you. So let's look at what this 4 of Coins card is. Now, I will be using the books for a lot of these cards. This may end up being a longer reading than some of my more previous videos, but let's look at this 4 of Coins in reverse. Now, all of these cards do correspond to different myths and folk tales across the world. This, I believe, is called the Condor's Wife. Yes, and it's from Peru. And it's, oh, I apologize that I'm going to probably pronounce this incorrectly, a Mara folk tale. So it says, the 4 of Coins represents greed and an unwillingness to open up or share. Condor covets his wife, who does not like his lifestyle or living with him. He recognizes her unhappiness, but is unwilling to make changes or set her free. Now, this card is in the reverse. And the reverse meaning can talk about gambling, recklessness, letting go, generosity, or large purchases. So there can be some positive connotations with it, but largely the 4 of Coins in reverse can denote not being careful with one's assets, being reckless, taking making irresponsible choices, that sort of thing. So we are going to be using this deck to figure out the specific situation that this energy is referring to. And this is where, you know, the stress comes into your mind, the struggle, the whatever is weighing so heavily on you that you can't seem to focus on any other direction when it comes to this situation. All right. Spirit, please tell us about the struggle group number 2 is facing. What struggle is group number 2 facing? So we have the 2 of Wands in reverse. What struggle is group number 2 facing? We have the Hierophant. Oh. We have the Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. So with the 2 of Wands in reverse, that can talk about a plan that's failed, a situation where there's not much drive or passion, or the spark has faded, or the creativity and the passion haven't produced the results that we've wanted. I want to get a little bit more information about that 2 of Wands in reverse. Tell us more about that. We've got the 9 of Pentacles. We have so many pentacles here. And you know, like this, look at this cat. It's perched on a tree, but it's hanging upside down because of being in the reverse situation. So it's kind of like hanging on for dear life. We've got the 9 of Pentacles here. And that's a card of self-sufficiency. I feel like this is a situation where you are really trying to maintain your independence. And it could very well have something to do with financial independence, or it could be a business, right, opportunity or a business venture that you are really trying to get afloat. Sorry, I just sighed. I'm going to be thinking about that so much every time I make a video now, but it's okay. And when I say I'm going to be thinking about that every time, I'm not thinking like in a negative way. I'm thinking about like, you know, when you don't know how, like, you're not aware of how often you're doing something, and then someone makes you aware of it, and so you become like hyper aware. We're gonna get through this. I'm gonna try to sigh and huff less for you guys. It could even be, you know, a job that you wanted. A career that you're trying to pursue, you're trying to establish yourself in. And maybe the process is taking longer, or maybe you didn't acquire the position that you were hoping for. I want to see the Hierophant. Tell us about the Hierophant. Because that's a card about like legal contracts, traditional institutions. The 10 of Wands. I feel like for the folks who picked this pile, there's a situation you're facing where there are contractual obligations or financial obligations that are really causing you stress. You could be having like bill collectors calling you. It could be like rent is due and you're struggling to make that. There's some kind of financial burden. Court costs. This really feels like someone who's putting, like a person or an institution that's putting a lot of pressure on you about finances. And you're just kind of sitting here like, I'm trying, but I can't make ends meet. I can't create something out of thin air. My efforts aren't producing the results. Let's see what the Knight of Pentacles is. Knights are about movement. They're about travel. They're about communication. About plans. The Knight of Pentacles is often seen as the most reliable knight, but not often the fastest. So let's see what this Knight of Pentacles is about. We've got the King of Swords in reverse. A few things are popping up here. One is that you may be reaching out to people or a person and they're not receptive. Somebody could owe you money and they're like ignoring your calls, ignoring your texts, emails. You could be asking for a loan and you're getting blocked for that. This could talk about, you trying to get a job and it just seems like no employer is responding well to you. You're not getting past application stages, or you're not getting past the first round of interviews. And it feels like you're trying to reach this goal to relieve the burden, but you're running out of ideas. What's the Page of Pentacles? The Empress in reverse. Now, for some of you, it could be that maybe your support systems in the past have kind of cut you off. Because the Empress the Empress is somebody who is very nurturing. She provides for others. She takes care of others. She's the kind of person where you go to and you're like, I need help. I don't have anything to my name. I'm running into brick walls here. I just need to get off of my feet, get on my feet a little bit. I need a little bit of help. And the Empress would normally be like, yes, here's a loan, or you can stay with me. Or I'll connect you to some people that I know. But in reverse, the Empress would be very cold in that situation. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, you figure it out on your own. Don't come to me looking for help. Don't come to me looking for answers or handouts or anything like that. I've got nothing for you. This also could be the fact that you feel like people don't believe in you. We got the Page of Pentacles here. And what's interesting, this is a little bit of a unique perspective to me, because this is like a circus right here, you know? And while a circus is a business, it's also very whimsical. It's not as practical as I would expect from a Pentacles suit. So I feel like this is a situation where you might be in your infancy of trying to establish your career, or maybe you're like a college student that just moved out on your own for the first time, and you just don't feel like you're getting a lot of support for that, and you don't feel like people have faith in you. Conversely, for some of you, this is a situation where you maybe have had to cut someone off. Somebody who was maybe too reliant on you, too dependent, like a child or a family member or a friend. Where maybe they were the type of person who was more impulsive, but they didn't really commit to the long haul. And you tried to support them for so long, but you got to a point where you felt like you needed to be more practical, and you needed to hold them to different standards, and you needed to kind of protect your financial independence, your assets, your integrity, because they might not be as careful with their money. They might have like a gambling problem. They might not be able to hold down a job. There might be other issues where they aren't being responsible with their finances. Okay, so now let's take a look at what the positives in the situation are that you can hold on to. Okay, so we've got card number 9 with shift. We've got compassion. We've got Teresa of, I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, Avila, Our Lady of the Interior Life. I trust the answers I find within me. I know that the presence of love is real. And we've got 15, the Rowan Tree, attraction. Transformation and regeneration, encouragement and protection, quicken new things to be born. So, with shift here, and I'm going to read these cards intuitively at first, and then get into the booklet meanings of them. But with shift here, this looks like a development of balance being created. So if you are a person who is struggling because of your financial situation, or because of an institution or a person kind of bearing down on you, there is a call for you to look at where things have been balanced, right? Whether that is whatever institution or person is kind of coming down on you, look at how their actions, their policies have also benefited you as much as them. times where they maybe have given you extra time. Times where maybe they didn't charge interest or they reduced the amount that you owed them. If this is about like you struggling with your finances, just period, it's important to look where there has maybe been a reduction of a burden. So for instance, maybe you paid off a loan, right? Or maybe you do have a job and you received a raise, or maybe you got a roommate and so now the financial burden isn't as heavy in terms of rent. What this card signifies to me is in that situation, you might be looking at it. I keep thinking of this as like an hourglass that's on its side, you know, so time isn't really moving. But in the past, it might have felt like, I mean, this does seem like it might feel like a time-sensitive issue, but where it just felt like everything was heavier on the top side and where you didn't have as much support. Now we're in a position with the shift card here where it's on its side. There's equal support. There's equal weight. Even if this is a situation where like maybe somebody is no longer extending support in the way that they have in the past, you can focus on what they have given you, right? Maybe this person gifted you a car, and if nothing else comes from this individual, you have a vehicle. You can travel to more places, you know, look for more types of jobs when you have like transportation independence than if you wouldn't have transportation independence. If you were relying on other people to give you rides, or if you were relying on public transportation or things like Uber or taxis or Lyfts. You know, if someone did lend you money, then you can go, okay, so I might not have all of the money that I need for this month's rent, but my friend gave me like $200, which means I have this much in my bank account previously, plus the $200, and I only have this amount left to make up for. It's really about putting things into perspective so it doesn't seem so heavy for you. Because when we focus on what we don't have or what we need still, and we're not acknowledging where some of our needs are currently being met, it gets overwhelming. If you're someone who's had to kind of cut someone off, this is a call for you to like look at the situation as like reducing your pressure, right? It's hard when we have people in our lives who struggle with responsibilities and managing them. You know, a lot of times we worry about like, should we do more for them? Are we letting them down? Are we setting them up for failure? But you also have to take care of yourself. And so looking at the shift of this, now you have more time for your mental health. You also have potentially more resources for your needs. You know, you've done what you can for the other person. And now you don't have to worry as a result of this decision about overextending yourself anymore. We've got compassion here. You know, this character right here. Oh, I wonder. I don't know. Like, you can't even see any nipple, but whatever. We'll cover it. This person here is literally praying, and you've got another entity that's kind of overlooking them, taking pity and taking notice. If you are the person who is struggling, this is a call to see where compassion has been shown to you in life. Maybe through people sharing with you different public programs or whatnot that offer assistance for areas where you may need help. It could be people loaning you money, helping you out with your finances. It could be an institution or a person, if they're kind of coming down on you now, where are they still being compassionate? It strikes me that even if there's an organization or an institution or a person who is kind of putting pressure on you now, it's coming to my attention that they are still probably being more compassionate, more or less demanding than what is typically expected of them or of the situation. Even like focusing on the compassion of like strangers, or just the verbal compassion of people who were like, hey, if you need someone to talk to, I'm right here. It seems like there has been some kind of assistance you've prayed for, or you've asked for. And whether that's like you've asked specifically of a person, like, hey, can you give me an extension on my rent? And they were like, yeah, okay, I'll give you 2 weeks to come up with it. Or you go to your employer and you're like, hey, I really think I need a raise. And they're like, okay. And they might not have given you the full amount that you asked for, but they may have offered some of a raise. If you go to someone and you say, hey, I need to borrow like $200, and they're like, okay. It seems like you have had people in your life who do extend that courtesy, who do extend that sense of compassion, and who do genuinely care about you. And if you're somebody who's had to cut somebody off, recognizing that compassion within yourself, So for the two roles that we're discussing here, for the first scenario, you might feel so focused on what you don't have that you're not seeing the resources that you have accumulated or the support that you do have in your situation. And if you are somebody who's had to kind of remove access to yourself or cut off assistance, you might be so focused on feeling like you are creating a disadvantage for somebody that you're not seeing the generosity that you've extended. Now we get into Teresa of Avila, Our Lady of the Interior Life. I trust the answers I find within me. I know that the presence of love is real. So in both situations, you have come up with solutions yourself. Whether it was, you knew you needed to maybe cut some services, right? Like, man, I'm going to stop smoking because I'll save money that way. Or you realize like maybe you needed help. So you go and you say like, hey, I need some help. Can I borrow some money? Or, really reaching out and looking for a job. Like you've created those positives for yourself. You have take action. Like you might feel helpless right now, but you have done so much to protect yourself that it's important to recognize that, so that you don't feel as powerless, so that you recognize that even in the difficult circumstances, like you've got your own back. You can find ways. You're very resilient. You'll figure things out. You've made it work before. And if it's the second situation where maybe you've had to cut somebody off, it's important to realize like you have to trust your gut instinct when something tells you that you can't continue a path anymore. Like you have to honor that. But you can also recognize the love that you have for this person, the compassion that you have for them, the care that you have for them, right? Like you're not removing access to your resources because you don't care. There's still so much love that you have and so much care and compassion. You want to see them succeed and you want them to get help and you want to see them flourish, right? You having boundaries up does not mean that you don't care about them. Doesn't mean that you don't love them. Like there is still love, and I think it's very important for you to recognize that. And then finally with the Rowan tree, attraction, transformation and regeneration, encouragement and protection, quicken new things to be born. So I think it's important to recognize where you have been encouraged, right? How you have protected yourself or how others have protected you. And really to look at the transformation, because I would say that this cycle you're going through probably isn't the first time you've experienced something very difficult where you felt like you were probably head below water, right? But look at all the times that you have come out of those previous cycles and look how you have transformed. Even in this situation, I would gather you've probably transformed. I have a friend who I remember her talking to me about her fiance when they were struggling with money a little bit. She told him like, babe, don't worry so much. I grew up poor. Like I know how to make $20 stretch. And they weren't struggling with finances because they were being reckless. It's just kind of where they were at in their life. I think they had just had their first child. And there were some other things going on, and it was just something where their bank account was not growing at that point. But she's somebody who has continuously adapted and utilized what resources she had for as limited as they were. And he was somebody who hadn't necessarily had to experience that. But so he was like kind of petrified, and she was like, don't worry, we got this. I know how to take care of this. Not in like a shady way. But it's important for you to reflect back on all the ways that you've transformed situations, so you can see that this isn't necessarily the way things are going to be for the long haul, right? And also, like, if you're somebody who's had to cut someone off, if you maybe in the past were like irresponsible with resources and you had to face kind of consequences for that, you might be able to reflect back on the lessons that you learned. I'll tell you, like, I was a late bloomer, and I didn't move out of my mom's place until I was 23, and didn't get my own place until then, and all that stuff. And I'll tell you, my mindset, once I got my own place and started paying for almost all of my own bills, got like a steady job and everything, my mindset totally shifted. I was like, oh my God, like, this is what independence looks like. And, it was so easy to want things when I was a child. Now I go into a store and I'm like, that's cute. Yeah, I'd like that. But I don't want to spend the money for that. Like money became more valuable to me when I had to take care of my own responsibilities. And so you might be able to look back and recognize that this is just kind of maybe a growing pain of life. Learning how to adapt, how to take responsibility, and how to provide for oneself. So we're just going to get into the readings of these cards specifically. I don't know why I'm thinking, but somebody could be born September 15th. That might be a confirmation for someone here. But let's see. Shift. Miracles, divine intervention, the end of stagnation, and divine inspiration are here now. Drawing this card signifies an aha moment or sudden change in any situation that was stuck or blocked. A welcomed change or answer you have been seeking is here now. Meditate on this symbol when you are feeling stuck, unsure of which way to go, or having a block creatively. Symbol breakthrough. Dagaz is a Norse rune. It is the last rune of Futhark, which is the oldest form of the runic alphabets. And it literally means day. This rune is a symbol of fulfillment and achievement, symbolizing the rebirth of the light in one's life. It is the rune of the awakening of the dawn and of the day rise. So it kind of sounds like you do have an answer in your life already. We go to compassion. This crestfallen elemental has given up the fight and does not know where to turn. Her naked form is cold and world-weary, and she no longer has the strength to deny her vulnerability or hide away from prying eyes. The dewy moss of the woodland floor provides a soft cushion to rest while she gathers her thoughts and prays for warmth and direction. As the misty dawn breaks, a new pathway is gradually flooded with golden light, offering a clear route out of the glade. The spirit of compassion hovers above. As an empath, she feels the weight carried by the weary stranger, and her gaze remains soft, non-judgmental, and patient. It is only when the elemental looks heavenward for answers that the spirit of compassion can reveal herself and point the way. The presence of this card indicates that now is a favorable time to view the world through the healing properties of compassion. Be especially aware of any strong judgments and expectations carried by you or others, which may be freezing your ability to connect with an open heart. Practice extending sincere, unconditional love and caring to those around you, and face any problems you encounter with a sincere wish to alleviate suffering. Look heavenward for guidance and open your heart to the warm rays of compassion. Yeah, and I think it's important to reflect on situations regarding a circumstance where there hasn't been judgment. If you are somebody who's struggling, I can bet that there are people or circumstances where you can look back and maybe you felt like you were expecting judgment, only to be met with compassion, people understanding, people sharing similar stories or their previous struggles, because that helps us not to feel alone, right? It's very easy to feel isolated when we're undergoing stress. And this is a part where it's like, okay, connect with the moments where people extended compassion and non-judgment at a time when you felt really vulnerable. And if this is a situation where you had to cut somebody off, it's really important, I think, for you to reflect on the fact that, like, you aren't really judging them as a person. Like, you care about them, you see their positive qualities, you're just having to have firmer boundaries, because I think that will help you remove that judgment from yourself about feeling like maybe a bad person or having turned your back on someone or what have you. Teresa of Avila. With passion and conviction, Teresa of Avila connects us to the love and truth available to us when we turn inward. Saint Teresa was born in Avila, Spain in 1515. As an adolescent, she experienced many illnesses and was confined to a bed, which allowed her to begin to explore her own thoughts. She read every book she could find on spiritual exploration and contemplative prayer. By the time she was a young adult, she knew she wanted to dedicate her life to the interior world. She entered a Carmelite convent in Avila in 1535. She increased the emphasis on contemplative prayer and eventually reformed the Carmelite order, which was later joined by St. John of the Cross. Over the course of her life, St. Teresa founded 17 convents through Spain. At the age of 44, she began to have series of visions that convinced her that Jesus Christ appeared to her in bodily form and yet remained invisible to the eye. These visions lasted for 2 years and would inform her books, especially the spiritual masterpiece, The Interior Castle, which charts the ascent of the soul as an inner journey through the 7 mansions or states of being that exist within us. Ultimately, Teresa wrote in the hope of assisting her sisters in the convent to also reach the innermost castle, where God dwells in our soul. She reminded them that we ourselves are the castle and that the door of entry into this castle is prayer and meditation. Her own personal spiritual experience is at the root of her instruction. The closer she gets to the 7th mansion where the soul ascends, which requires going further inward, the stronger the light is. She describes the ways to discern the voice and presence of the divine within us and the certainty of God that arrives that cannot be explained or doubted. This inner journey was so significant to St. Teresa because she believed that God didn't care about the magnitude of anything we do, but rather the amount of love that we do it with. Pope Paul VI named St. Teresa a doctor of the Church in 1970. Her spiritual writings are considered integral to the Spanish Renaissance and to the history of Christian mysticism. St. Teresa is a call for the importance of the interior life. She knew intimately about the spiritual wealth we all possess and have access to if we're willing to go inward. She not only emphasized the need to meditate and to pray in order to reach that innermost castle where the soul waits for us, but she also instructed the sisters of her convent on how to discern the presence of the soul or of a saint or of a holy person that is given to wisdom from within us. She had a bookmark that supposedly read, "If you have God, you will want for nothing. God alone suffices." This synthesizes the wisdom of her experience. Nothing less than divine love will satiate a seeker, especially one you have met with it from within. She urges us to meditate, to pray, and to go inward and meet with the presence of the soul. And then she asks for us to believe that it is real and that the answers we find are real. She asks us to move that inner truth out into the world with confidence and conviction. And what does love feel like in my body? And then finally, with the Rowan tree, attraction. The Rowan tree forecasts a bright future for you. Red being the color of fire, Rowan means flame. What you need will gravitate toward you in the same way that the rowan's red berries give it power to attract birds. Patience is indicated by the life-giving properties of energy and protection that the rowan symbolizes. There is a sign that something is coming soon because the rowan is one of the first trees to bud. Maypoles are made from the rowan, so flirtations and romance are forecast. A merry-go-round begins, bringing people together by magical charm. The rowan also brings protection, as it has always been used to make amulets to guard against evil and ills. And think about maybe the times where you have been protected, in this situation. Right? When maybe you could have lost your job and you didn't, or someone, tried to take money from you and wasn't successful. To really reflect on, like, the things that you've been able to maintain. So overall, it looks like you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed with finances, whether it's because, you're struggling to make payments on something, you're not making enough money at your job, there is a system that's kind of cracking down on you. Maybe you've got some debts, or because you've had to kind of cut someone off. But the important thing is to look where there's been shifts in this situation. See where you have extended compassion to someone or how compassion has been extended to you. Realize where there has been love that's been expressed and how you drove yourself to these answers, like how you've provided for yourself. And then see where things have transformed and where you have protected. Even, okay, so like even in a situation where maybe you had to cut someone off, appreciate the fact that you did protect them at that time. You can't protect someone forever, especially when your resources are limited, but you know, you have done that protection. So now we're just going to get into some advice on how you can focus more on this part. Okay, calcination, dark night of the soul. Card 33. Now this is part of the Alchemy Ascension cards in this deck. Based on ancient Hermetic tradition, these cards detail the stages of alchemy. These are ideal for shadow work, healing, and self-empowerment. So this card represents the straw that broke the camel's back. It's the spark of internal grief when your partner lies to you for the umpteenth time, or the anger that comes from a snide remark from a toxic boss. You finally have had enough of the traffic heading downtown and now have the fierce motivation to move to a new city. Calcination in alchemy occurs when you finally have a reckoning with what no longer is in alignment with you. This feels like an uncomfortable and intense dark night of the soul. Your ego feels unsupported by your reality, and you must experience a metaphorical death to be reborn. You can relate this to the occult symbolism of the phoenix. When this card pops up in a reading, it's time for you to metaphorically burn it all down so that you can be reborn. And we're talking here about transformation and regeneration. Wow. Calcination is the first step in the practice of alchemy, associated with the lead planet Saturn. Lead planet, probably. Yeah. Where you start and work your way inward toward the goal of the sun. It invokes the fire element linked with the divine masculine zodiac signs of Aries. It is the practice of burning and adding heat to material or a solution to strip it down to its original state. A difficult life event, challenge, or roadblock can trigger you to begin this sacred process of soul ascension. While this is the beginning of your alchemical journey, it's an extremely necessary first step to progress to higher states of consciousness. Calcination phase shadow work. You can integrate the first step of calcination by identifying what should be purged in your life. I think that's definitely true. I think this is maybe what you've already done if you've had to kind of cut some assistance from your life, like assisting someone else. But if you are struggling with things, I think it's definitely important that you need to figure out what to purge from your life. Take a moment to journal your thoughts and emotions during this process. Prepare for an ego death or shredding of your old self. Allow the ashes to fall away so that your true self remains. And I think it's important because, for one, sometimes we have to stop holding on to like old jobs or old business ventures, or we kind of have to accept that loss because it gives us the ability to start over with something fresh instead of kind of holding on to something that may be a dead end. Which, when it comes to things like finances and stuff like that, that's life-changing, and I know that. And I'm not trying to diminish the importance of having your finances secure. But from what I've seen, group number 2, if you are in a tough situation, you are a very resilient and creative person, and you do have support. And I do think you will come out on top. This might be just a situation where you really have to kind of allow something painful to happen before you can kind of progress. Or you just kind of have to allow yourself the pain of what's going on here and then allow that to like transform you into, or transform the situation into something that's more beneficial for you. If you're the person who's had to kind of let someone figure shit out for themselves, that could be what we're talking about here, is accepting that relationship dynamic is going to change. This person might resent you for a while. They might be angry with you, but at the end of the day, it's likely that you made a decision that was best for both of you. So now let's Go through here. What's for a second card? Okay, the Peace of Stillness, card 24. I lost my book. My book. WTF. For real. Oh my God, it's right here. So 24. Giving yourself time, like literally probably meditating, going out into nature, trying to calm your thoughts. So all life unfolds according to a perfect divine plan. We mustn't push, force, or rush our journeys and dreams, for it can create friction and resistance to the magic unfolding at every moment. Things need time and deep nourishment to grow and flourish. When we rush through life constantly striving to reach a destination, working ourselves to exhaustion, and barely slowing down enough to listen to our needs, we miss out on witnessing the beauty of it all. This card is here to tell you to slow down, be patient, and trust your path. When you let go, a stronger current of creative momentum will flow. We have been programmed to believe that our value comes from doing, not being, when being is the most powerful gift we can offer ourselves as we grow through life. Let go of your need for things to happen in a certain way. Stillness creates more receptivity for the things we desire to come into our lives. Take a break and simply enjoy this moment. Celebrate where you are now. The future will be there when you are ready, but there's nothing more important than the present. The ritual is, in a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down, close your eyes and tune into your breath. Notice its rhythm as it flows in and out in a perfect harmony. Stay with the stillness your sacred breath provides for as long as possible, continuing to come back to the breath if the mind starts to wander. Stay focused, stay still, stay silent. Observe the peace and surrender that your breath provides, and enjoy this presence of peace. If it is difficult for you to be still for long, return to this practice every day for the next week and notice how you feel. Allow this sacred pause to reveal to you the beauty of the present moment, the beauty of slowing down. You know, if you're struggling with finances or a tense situation like that, I think you're probably grinding so hard that you are ignoring signals in your body, and it's going to be very important for you to slow down because it gives your mind the ability to recuperate, your body the ability to recuperate, and then you can see things from a clearer perspective. Like even if you have to let something go and it's like devastating to you, being able to sit still and clear your mind will help you transition into something calmer. And if this is a situation where you've had to let go of someone, like, or at least supporting them, giving yourself the ability to sit still so that your mind calms and you're not constantly plagued with thoughts of like, if you've betrayed them, if you aren't supporting them in the way that you should, if you've turned your back on them, if you're terrible, yada, yada, yada. It seems like right now, either overworking yourself or your negative thoughts having control over you is probably your biggest hindrance to seeing the beautiful side underneath all of this struggle. So group number 2, I hope that this reading resonated. If it did, please let me know how in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to be part of the family and haven't done so, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload a new video. All right, bye. Hello, group number 3. If you chose the agate stone or the temperance card, this will be your reading about what the beauty underneath the struggle of your situation is. We are going to start off by looking at the meaning behind this card, and then we will use another tarot deck to look at the circumstances of your situation that are weighing down on you. We'll follow that with these oracle cards that will tell us the positives that you can focus on and pay recognition to help kind of balance this situation. And then finally, we'll be using a few other oracle cards to look at advice for you today. So groups 1 and 2 have been very different, and I'm intrigued to see where we fall on the spectrum here. Now with these cards, this deck refers to like myths and folklores and fairy tales from across the world. This is something that relates to India. We have the Temperance card, which we know talks about balance. I am so sorry that I'm going to mispronounce this, but Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara from India, the Buddhist Bodhisattva. And it says, temperance is about balance and meditation. It is being mutable, recognizing when to change with the times and when to change the situation itself. The Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara identities are fluid, but their goodwill remains constant. And upright, it means moderation, harmony, purpose, good influence, and reconciliation. Okay, I see. And look at this. This figure has all different objects in its hand, like a beaded necklace, a flower. It has a bell, a bow, an arrow. Very, very beautiful. Okay, and now we are going to use this tarot deck to look at the, there we go. To look at the specifics of the situation. And as I think I mentioned in the intro, we could get some very specific details here, or it might just be a general sense of what's going on. Either way, this is the part of the reading that should give you an indication if this has a message for you. You should be able to identify some sense of familiarity with a situation that you're undergoing. If you don't, I would highly encourage looking for, maybe a different pile that you feel drawn to. Oh my goodness. My shuffle skills are non-existent. Okay. So please describe, universe, the situation group 3 is feeling burdened by, stuck with. Okay, we have the Hierophant in reverse. Please give us information. Okay. We've got Death in reverse. We've got the Two of Wands in reverse. And we've got the Ace of Cups in reverse. Okay. I am going to get clarifiers for these, but we'll start off with a general sense of what I'm feeling. The Hierophant in reverse can talk about plans falling through, a lack of commitment, whether that's to like another person or like a plan. It can also talk about things like situations that are outside of the normal. They don't necessarily follow tradition. They're a little more abstract. And with Death in reverse, it seems like there's nothing changing. There's no significant movement. It's a stagnant energy. The Two of Wands in reverse can talk about feeling like there's no plan to move forward, plans falling through, a sense of indecision, maybe a lack of passion about where to head. And then the Ace of Cups in reverse can talk about feeling like a lack of creativity. Can even talk about experiencing the more negative side of emotions, right? So feeling frustrated, feeling angry, feeling hurt, sometimes feeling apathy. I I want to see more about this Hierophant in reverse. We've got the Five of Wands, which, look at that. That poor cat. That looks like the cat right here. Okay, we've got the Five of Wands. And then we've got Strength in reverse. It's giving me the energy of feeling as if no argument you've made has been considered seriously, or feeling burnt out because of a combative situation or a struggle. It doesn't even necessarily have to be combative in the sense of like two people who are at odds. It's just feeling like you've really been fighting a situation that is not bearing any fruit, any reward for you. Like every opportunity that you have taken to move something forward, it feels like is being rebuffed or it falls through. I want to see the Death in reverse card. Okay, these are way too many. I apologize. The Death in reverse card. The Ace of Pentacles in reverse. It's like you could be experiencing a material loss, potentially, through some investment that you've made. An example that's coming to my mind is when I had just graduated high school, a couple of friends and I were planning on renting a duplex, like part of a duplex. And so we all went and we put down a deposit, but one of the friends bailed on us. And so the other friend and I couldn't afford to live there without the third friend. And we were also out the money that we had put down on the deposit. It's also like I'm getting like an image of like a car that maybe you purchased, but it seems like it's constantly needing to go into the shop for repairs. It's like when you get one thing fixed, another thing malfunctions. It doesn't have to be a literal financial issue. When we look at pentacles, it can often represent as well like stability or just investment. And we can invest any type of energy into a situation imaginable. So this could be talking about maybe like a connection that someone else isn't investing in, an idea that isn't being invested in. See the Two of Wands in reverse. We've got the Queen of Pentacles in reverse and the Four of Wands in reverse. Okay. So this does feel like there is either somebody else who is not providing as much stability or nurturing to a situation as potentially you are, because we can look at the Queen of Pentacles as another individual, and the Queen of Pentacles upright would be somebody who is making investments, who is putting time and attention and resources into something, and somebody who is very trustworthy and they're very grounded. In reverse, they can be stingy. They can be somebody who's like, I don't really want to be a part of this, or can be somebody who maybe isn't fulfilling their end of the bargain, meeting promises or whatever. And then the Four of Wands in reverse, this can indicate for a lot of you that this might be like a romantic connection, because we do look at this as like a marriage card, especially with this deck. You know, you've literally got a cake. It looks like a wedding cake. So this could be about a connection where you're starting to feel frustrated because you don't feel the other person is as committed to the situation as you are. But the Four of Wands is also about like creative stability. Fours are often looked at as a number of stability. You've got four corners, right? So it creates a stronger base and more support. And it is a card of celebration. So this can talk about feeling disempowered or feeling disillusioned from a situation where maybe there's something in the past that you were really fighting for, that you were really striving for, but as a result of a lack of fruition and benefit and results, you're no longer feeling that spark. You're no longer feeling that sense of celebration. And then we've got the Ace of Cups in reverse. And we've got the Emperor in reverse with the Knight of Swords in reverse. This is a reading. The other two had some variations on how you could interpret the cards, but they were more specific. This is a situation that is a little bit more open-ended. I feel like here we're looking at the Ace of Cups in reverse, maybe because once again, we've got, you know, the Emperor, which can represent another human being, another person. And this could be somebody who is not taking action. And they're not investing emotionally or romantically or creatively. And with the Knight of Swords in reverse, it can feel like stunted communication, whether this is somebody you're not talking to or somebody who isn't as direct in their communication, or as expressive in their communication. This can also represent maybe feeling drained and no longer like creative or emotionally attached to a situation, and just feeling like you don't want to take action. You're kind of blocking your thoughts from it because you've decided maybe you spent so much time with this Five of Wands energy not getting any results that you're kind of burnt out. And so there's a frustration here of like, I'm done with this. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm over it. And really maybe ruminating on frustrations about how it hasn't panned out. I will say first, like, if there could be some messages for you in pile one, I can see that there's a little bit of a similarity between the two piles. So it might be worth checking out if you feel like this is kind of hitting a chord, or maybe like some of it's sounding a little bit similar, but to like what you're going through, but you're like, I'm not feeling like this is really connecting the way that I would expect it to. If there was a message here for me, I would go check out pile one. But right now, like, you're just frustrated. Like, you're tired of putting up a fight. You're tired for fighting for something where there's no benefit to it. There's a lack of enthusiasm now. There could also be somebody who is really resistant to making a strong commitment, or to deeper emotional expressions, and you're kind of at a point where you're just like ruminating and feeling apathetic about the situation. So let's look at the hidden beauty of the situation, okay? Not of the struggle, but of the things that have happened or are currently happening in this situation that are a positive that you can focus on. So we have card number 36, Death. We've got Dreams. We've got Inanna, the Queen of Heaven and Earth. I have nothing to hide. I see and accept all that I am. And then we have card number 48 with the Ginkgo tree, Joy. And it says, treasures that arrive like gifts from heaven may be of the spirit or the earth. Okay, so I'm actually going to move these. I forgot they were going to kind of go out of frame. I'm going to move these up a little bit more. And you know what? We're going to get a cover here because, like, you can't really make out any details. But it's funny, isn't it? How we have death in reverse here, but we have literally the death card right here. And so what that leads me to believe is that you may feel that things are not changing or haven't changed, but there has been change. And so I would encourage you to kind of meditate and think about the path of this situation and try to find the areas where there has been progress or adjustment, because it is there in your situation. They might not be huge accommodations or monumental progressions, but sometimes in situations, more subtle changes can go unnoticed. It can be overlooked, but it can be helpful to see even where the small changes are, because that gives us a more balanced perspective. And here with Temperance, right, this was your identifier card, and this is talking about adapting and meeting in the middle. And right now it looks like you're in this really frustrating situation where you just want to give up and you're feeling apathetic. You're feeling like you don't necessarily want to invest in this anymore. But Spirit is really calling for you to center yourself and not to disacknowledge, like, where maybe your needs aren't being met or where maybe things haven't been as beneficial for you as you'd like, because that information is important. Those feelings are significant. But the universe doesn't want you to overlook the areas where there has been change. There's something about this situation where maybe it's not fulfilling every desire that you have at this point in time, but it could be that it's worth continuing to invest in, maybe just at a different pace for yourself, maybe not as intensely or as deeply or as passionately as you previously did, but still continuing to give it a chance, because there is an indication that there is growth and progress here. I do want to see with how general this portion was, we might not get much detailed information, but I do want to see if we can kind of draw a card or two to give us a little bit of a head start about where some of that change could be noticed. Because I know sometimes it's hard to pull ourselves back from the bigger picture and notice the finer details. So if the universe can just kind of help give us a little bit of a nudge. Okay, we've got the Three of Wands. And that is about expansion. That's about planning. So if there are plans that did come through for you, even if they were smaller ones, that's worth noticing. Or like expansion where I'm trying to think of examples for various situations. So the easiest one I can give you is in my personal life. There's a guy that I'm seeing, and he's so much more reserved than any man that I've ever been involved with before. And it was really frustrating in the beginning. Like, I'm used to like intense passion and declarations of romance and like sentimental feelings. This man did not offer any of that. And so it's been a significantly slower pace, and there hasn't been as much like emotional openness. And so for a while, I was feeling frustrated because I was like, where is this going? I don't understand this. Like, what's going on? But I was afraid that maybe this was a situation that was going to be a dead end, right? Where he was going to be completely closed off to something deeper. Maybe this was just going to end up in a situationship kind of thing. But when I started to look back, I started to notice the simple ways that there were progress. So when he was on vacation for almost a month, like, he reached out a few times, which he's more of a practical communicator, or he was in the very beginning. So he would always respond to me, but he didn't initiate a lot of like conversational communication. But when he was on vacation, he did reach out a couple of times of his own accord and just touch base with me, see how things were going, let me know what was going on with him. Even today, like, I just got this text message where he said, like, I hope you're having a good day. And I was like, oh my God, did this man just give me what is essentially like a good morning text? What? Because I would expect him to say something like that if we'd already been communicating something like logistical, or if like I had reached out. But he straight up, like, he just messaged me that this morning, and it was a little bit of a deviation from his typical pattern. It's not necessarily something groundbreaking, right? It's not necessarily something like this huge romantic declaration. But it's a moment where I recognized, oh, he's communicating more. He's opening up more. He's being a little more sentimental and affectionate. And that's progress. The situation might not be exactly where like I would want it to be at, but it is something that shows me he is continuing to put energy into this. I'm trying to think of a different circumstance. Like, if this were about a job or something, maybe you were vying for a promotion and maybe you didn't get the promotion, right? And you could be very frustrated. You're like, I've been putting so much work into this position, into this company. I've been here for X number of years. This is what I've accomplished, and I didn't get this promotion. But your boss is still like, hey, I'm going to give you this higher responsibility. Like, maybe you become the lead for a project, right? Or maybe you start to gain seniority over like shift allotments, or, you know, what have you. Little things where even if maybe like a supervisor or a boss or someone of that nature is like coming to you looking for your input on things because they're starting to trust your vision and your participation in the company. And so even though it's not quite as much as you wanted to accelerate in your career in this company, there's still an indication that there's value of you, that you're important, that they see potential growth in you. It just doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily being shown to you in the way that you would want, but that information is there. Then we've got dreams, which that's an interesting card. And I do want to clarify, when we finish with kind of the intuitive reading of these cards, we are going to get into the booklets themselves, which can potentially offer more information for us. Dreams are, things that we hope for and we aspire. And so there is something about this situation that matches what you've been longing for, what you've been looking for. It could be that this is a position in your dream job, like maybe you're frustrated because you're not advancing in the way that you want to, but you're like, this is what I've wanted to do my entire life. I've worked so hard to get here. I'm so happy to be a part of this field or this specific company, or I'm glad that I get to utilize these sets of skills that I have. Okay, Liam Neeson. Or if this is about like a connection, there's something about this connection or this person that does fulfill some sort of dream of yours. So like in my circumstance, okay, this guy might not be the most romantic or passionate, but like he offers a certain level of consistency that I've never had, somebody who continues to choose to come back, that I don't have to chase. And so there is a quality about this situation, for as frustrating as it is, it does meet a requirement of one of your dreams. Like it does fulfill some need of yours or some longing of yours. Then we have Inanna, the queen of heaven and earth. I have nothing to hide. I see and accept all that I am. This is a situation where you get to be who you are, and you're not judged for that. And you're actually, I think, really appreciated for that. So if this is about like a job, maybe it's you are really good at communicating ideas. Maybe you are really good at visuals, right? So if there's like a big marketing project, like you're number one on the team, they really want to know your input, or they really want you to design something, or like even in one of the things I loved doing when I worked in retail was doing like the end caps, and creating, because sometimes the company would tell you what to put on the end cap, but sometimes you got a little bit of leeway on it. So being able to sit there and create, these beautiful visual displays or these engaging displays. If this is about a connection, it's like this person isn't shying away from parts of you that maybe you thought were overwhelming or maybe underwhelming, things that you thought might not be interesting to them. Okay, I'm going to get back to personal experience here. So when this guy was over at my place the other day, and we finished watching like this, what was it? It was the World Cup match between Iran and New Zealand. We just kind of chilled for a little while and talked, and I ended up going out on this huge tangent on the series From, which I absolutely love. Like, I am obsessed. Have been since I started watching it a few years back. And this man and have very, very different interests. He's not much of like a TV person unless it comes to sports. But like I just nerded out, and you could see him smiling and like this little twinkle in his eyes, and I knew that like, okay, this isn't too much for him. This isn't being too weird. He's not disinterested. Like he's probably not following along anything that's happening, but he seems to find my enthusiasm entertaining. Um, and so there's something about this situation where you get to be the true version of yourself, and it's valued, it's appreciated, it's accepted, and you might not have had that in the past. And so then we get to the Jinko tree with joy, and it says, treasures that arrive like gifts from heaven may be of the spirit or the earth. And so really this is a call for you to like look back at the times where there has been joy, because it seems like right now you're really heavily focused on frustration and feeling maybe disempowered, maybe unfulfilled. But I would say there's probably several moments in this situation, whether it's related to work, personal creativity, a connection, what have you, where you really have felt joyful. Maybe like you get along with your coworkers really well and you're busting up laughing all the time, or you really enjoy like what you do, even if you're frustrated about the path that it's on right now and the lack of progress you feel that you're seeing. You might be really passionate and excited and just love what you do. If this is with like a person, this could be somebody that you do have a lot of really fun times with, that you laugh a lot with, And we talk here about like it may be of the spirit or the earth. And so this can talk about joy that's physically tangible, aka the earth, or of the spirit. So something that is maybe like more psychological or maybe more emotional joy. And so sometimes when we are feeling underappreciated, or we're feeling like there's an imbalance of what we are receiving, we can forget that we do enjoy what we do, or we do enjoy the people that we are engaging with. So let's go through these guidebooks and see if there's any more information that pops up. So with the card Death, we've got the noticeable end of a cycle or situation, grieving or mourning a loss in order to heal. It is time to watch the old way leave itself in the past. Allow feelings of grief or sadness to move through you with ease. Meditate on this when you want to honor an ending, a loss, or letting go in your life with grace. Without death, there is no life, and vice versa. Symbol, skull and rose. The skull and rose symbolize that all is sacred in life and death. I'm getting a couple of things here with that reading. So first and foremost, there could have been a situation where there was a lot of support for something painful that happened in your life. So if you were at work and if you had a situation in your personal life, or maybe in your career, where something didn't pan out, like maybe there was, for some people, I'm getting like a loss of a child or like a divorce. Maybe if it's more oriented towards the career itself, it could be frustration with like the loss of a client or something where you felt like maybe it looked poorly on you, or maybe you would be judged for it. There's a call here to remember how people actually supported you and were compassionate towards you and gave you grace, and offered like sympathy and a compassion. If this is about a connection, this could also relate to someone like this person being really supportive of you in a time where you were feeling overwhelmed or hurt. And it may not have had anything to do with them, but they could have extended compassion and care for you. I think this is also a reminder of like, think about where you've been in the past and how where you are now is where you would have dreamed to have been in the past, right? So it's kind of like the idea of, you know, sometimes when we look at who we are right now and where we're at right now, we can sometimes feel a sense of discontentment and frustration. But if we were to think about 2 years ago, 5 years ago, when we were a child, and look through those eyes to the present day, we realize how happy those younger versions of ourselves would be. Like, oh my God, like you've achieved this much. Like you're in this job, you have this position, or, you know, you're engaging with this kind of person, like you're having this experience with another person. That's amazing. So really taking a look back at a time that was tougher for you and recognizing how much you would appreciate from that previous perspective where you're at now. We're going to get into dreams. Isis, giver of life and diviner of magic, is depicted standing motionless in a haunting moonlit river. Celebrated for her archetypal feminine powers of healing, Isis was often portrayed wearing a throne-like headdress. Red is the color of life, force, passion, and forward movement, and Isis clasps a bundle of fragrant red rose petals to her chest. Like thoughts and dreams, they fall silently to the water's surface to be carried to a new destination by the river. Her inquiring eyes are fixed on the far distance as if transported by deep contemplation. The surrounding watery blue landscape of river and moon represents the realms of the unconscious mind, psyche, and dreams. Modern times have seen the decline of sacred values, traditions, and spiritual beliefs that help keep us nurtured. Surviving the challenges of the physical life can be overwhelming at times. Our feelings of being almost robotically governed by the constraints of practicality, logic, and duty allow little time for what appears to be the seemingly indulgent and magical act of dreaming. However, a dream is merely a goal without feet, and it is often through the creative power of dreams that we find the courage to begin their realization. Many people will tell you that the greatness of their success began with a dream. The dreams card signifies that now may be time to make a significant decision or to rethink your direction and make some changes, which, however small, could lead to larger things. Aha, so we're talking about how we might not be seeing the kind of progress we want. And this is pointing out these changes might be small, but could lead to larger things. The inclusion of dreams in any equation can make the difference between a good decision and a great one. Be aware of the power and potential that this card invites you to explore by investing your time a little differently and daring to dream. In the words of Sarah Bon Brethnach, the world needs dreamers and the world needs doers, but above all, the world needs dreamers who do. So think about the times too in situations, in this situation where maybe you took a risk in something, communicating yourself or approaching the situation differently, and when it was well received, when there was progress, because I guarantee you there's situations in this circumstance in the past where that has been the case for you, so that you know, like, your direction, your input is valued. We're going to get to Inanna, the Queen of Heaven and Earth. $202. Inanna represents the power that comes back to us when we accept and integrate our shadow. Inanna was the most prominent female deity of ancient Mesopotamia. At the height of her worship around the Uruk period of 4000 to 2000 BCE, temples and shrines dedicated to Inanna line the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Her name is Sumerian for Lady of Heaven. Her temples housed her priestesses, and they each would take a man to bed with them on the spring equinox to reenact the divine marriage, or Hieros Gamos, between Inanna and her consort Dumuzi. The Hieros Gamos is an ancient ritual of uniting the opposites from within, the male and the female, and the light and the dark, and most especially heaven and earth. This theme occurs in accounts of Inanna's descent into the underworld to find her sister Ereshkigal. She must take off an article of clothing at each of the 7 gates so that when she finally reaches her sister, she is naked. And when Inanna ascends, she does so with Ereshkigal's power. One thing I'm saying is, think about how this situation, like not the struggle of the situation, but whether it's like your job or a connection, has really helped you develop skills that you may not naturally have had on your own. Skills in communication, skills in delegation, skills in creativity, skills in emotional regulation, what have you. This is a situation where you have yourself grown, and it's really important to see that. When your soul selects her card, Inanna goes into the depths of her own unconscious to merge with her twin sister self. She becomes more powerful because she's no longer using conscious psychic energy to keep her shadow or negative attributes hidden deep underground. She courageously descends and faces the aspects of herself that are hard to get to when she's fully dressed or cloaked heavily in the ego. Oh my God, that's so beautiful given the fact that we got Temperance as your signifier. Inanna is an invitation to get naked. She wants us to drop our defenses. She wants us to see how holy and sacred it is to be vulnerable. Where are the times in the situation that you have been vulnerable and it's been received, you know? As above, so below. This is an alchemical adage that suggests heaven and earth are not so separate. It suggests that within us, deep down in the dark cages where we place parts of ourselves, the truths that exist there also exist right here on the surface of our everyday lives. So if we are exerting great amounts of energy to keep from seeing our shadow, it is actually playing a large role in our conscious life. When we can face what we think is dark or negative about us, I mean really embrace it and see it for what it is, a beautiful broken place that's a call for love, then we can emerge more whole. We can marry the light and dark aspects of our being, and in uniting with our own twin sister from the depths, we can stop projecting her onto other women. We can see and own the hot mess we often are and not get sabotaged by it. The light must cast a shadow, and the high priestess is the one who gets called to love them both. Can I love my shadow as much as my light? So this might be a situation too where think about the times when maybe you made assumptions about a situation and you came to realize it was your own fear or insecurity or limitations and not a reflection of the situation at all. Finally, we'll get into 48. The Ginkgo tree. A rare and fruitful event is forecast for you to treasure, symbolized by this silver fruit. The translation of the Chinese word yinko or ginkgo. The event will be quite extraordinary because the ginkgo was the only surviving member of a species so ancient that its leaf veins predate those found in any other living tree. Fall could bring a spectacular change as the fan-shaped leaves turn from apple gold to brilliant yellow. Someone may need to fan the flames of passion. The Chinese call the ginkgo the godfather, godson tree because it takes 1 or 2 generations to produce fruit. Rich rewards destined for you when the time is ripe cannot be hastened. So, and reflect on the ways that you have been rewarded for your patience given this situation. Whether it's in career, whether it's in personal growth, whether it's in this relationship. Moments where you did step back and kind of let go of control and you saw rewards for that. Okay, so now we are going to get some advice cards. So what advice do we have? And this is, okay, before I do that, so let's do a little summary here. How you can focus, like what's the bright aspect to focus on? We do want to focus on the way in which people have supported you during difficult times in your life, the way there was grace or compassion or sympathy extended to you, and the way in which your life is different now given this situation than it was before, and how you would appreciate it from the lens of a past version of yourselves. This is a situation where you have expressed yourself, you have made recommendations, or you have taken initiative and it has been well received. You get to be authentic in this situation and you are appreciated for your individuality. And there are moments of joy that you have experienced, whether it's because you have a passion for what you do or whether it's because of a social or romantic connection where you have like freedom and like play between the two of you or three of you or, you know, what have you. And you just enjoy the company or the banter. You get along well. So let's get into some advice on what you can do to focus on this a little bit more. So we've got 26 with inspired action, and we're going to read from the book here. Big leaps are asked of us in order to align with those big visions and dreams brewing within. Unless we get to work and take action on the wisdom grounding our dreams into the material plane, our desires may never come to fruition. It can be scary to leap outside your comfort zone and into your wildest dreams. Write that book you've been dreaming of, start a business on your own, create a platform to share your truth, move to a new city your soul is calling you to, change careers, or simply show up in the world with a liberated, sensitive heart. This card is coming to you today with the message that you are ready to align with your dreams, the big inspirations and callings lighting a flame within your heart, and to receive the abundance that follows. In order for this path to desire to widen, you have work to do. What is brewing within is brewing for a reason. All you need to do is take action. This card is a reminder to let go of any procrastination and step into inspired action with courage and strength. Don't be afraid, bright soul. Your guidance will lead you along the way. The time is now. With this particular card, I'm feeling like you might be holding back on something because you're afraid of overstepping. I would encourage you to take the action that you've been refraining from. I think it is important to keep yourself moderated in this situation, whether it's with another person or with a business. But sometimes we can be holding ourselves back from something that's truly calling to us, whether it's just like, you know what, I really want to message this person today, or I really want to pitch an idea to my boss. And so we're sitting here and we're ruminating because we are not acting on our desires authentically. I think you really need to act on that desire, and it's going to help open up a wave of relief. The ritual is, in your journal, draw a circle. In the center of the circle, write the thing you are wanting to leap into. On the outside of the circle, draw a raise and label them with each action step, small and large. You will need to take to align with what you are leaping into. For example, if you are wanting to leap into a specific new dream job you are calling in, then you may need to work through any insecurities holding you back, write a resume, and apply. Or if you are wanting to make a big move, then there will be clearing out, packing, and loose ends to tie up in your current place in order for the new place to come through. Each day, vow to take on one action step toward what the universe is calling you toward. You are worthy of all you dream, but your dreams need you to believe in them to get moving. So if you want to take a second and pause. Sorry, I don't know how to get that to like a better clarity. And then we're going to look at one more advice card. Ooh, we've got Pluto, endings and regeneration. So it's card number 31. Okay, I'm feeling called to like go back here and see. This is the astrological planet cards portion of this deck. It's based in astrology, and these cards describe each of the 12 planets and their archetypal energy. They provide an ancient tool for soul ascension and shadow work. This is going to deal with shadow work, which I think most of this book actually does. But misalignment can manifest physically as that uneasy feeling in the pit of your stomach. Pluto can sense this and likes to break everything down and remove what no longer serves you. It teaches us that beginnings and endings are intrinsically tied together. It is the natural cycle of life. Hidden wealth, inheritances, and debts are also a part of Pluto, indicating change in this area of life. Allow this transformative wave to pass over you. It will wash away the shadows that have held you back from activating your light. In ancient Greco-Roman mythology, Pluto was the lord of the underworld and hidden wealth, also known as Hades in Greece. He presided over Earth's lower realms and the rich gems, minerals, and metals found in the ground. Pluto is the planetary ruler of the fixed water sign of Scorpio. Scorpio rules alchemy, sex, death, rebirth, psychology, the occult, secrets, and transformation. While it is a malefic planet and can be difficult, there is much to gain when your Pluto is integrated, as it can unlock your soul's hidden riches. Pluto is a generational planet in astrology, so each age group has the same Pluto sign. While Pluto can create chaos, it also brings to light what we have swept under the rug to be healed. Understanding Pluto in your own life is tremendous shadow work, and integrating yours can lead to personal empowerment and evolution. The following is a brief alchemical guide to the area of life where you will experience ego deaths, change, karmic events, and transformative triggers. So, life metamorphosis according to your Pluto sign. Pluto in Cancer, 1913 to 1939, family traditions and home. Pluto in Leo, 1939 to 1958, ego, creativity, self-expression. Pluto in Virgo, 1959, 1972, to 1972, health and perfectionism. Pluto in Libra, 1971 to 1984, relationships, equality, and love. Pluto in Scorpio, 1984 to 1995, crisis, death, and regeneration. Pluto in Sagittarius, 1995 to 2008, beliefs, worldview, spirituality. Pluto in Capricorn, 2008 to 2024, structure, security, and hierarchy. I'm not going to go with Pluto in Aquarius. Everything must come to an end, wipe the slate clean, and make space for the new. So really, I think a good piece of advice here is to figure out, like, where is your ego being triggered, and work on going through those wounds and those defenses. And I would recommend going online, and you can find, or like to a bookstore or someplace, you can find some great resources for like figuring out what your Pluto sign is, and how to work through healing any struggles that are created by your Pluto sign. So this is where I'm going to leave you. Group number 3, if you enjoyed the reading, please give me a thumbs up. If you would like to be a part of the family and haven't done so, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get an update as to whenever I upload a new video. And if you resonated with the content of this video, please let me know how in the comment section down below. Bye. Hello, group number 4. If you chose the Tiger's Eye Stone or the King of Pentacles card in reverse, this will be your reading on the beauty underneath the struggle. So we are not talking about the beauty of the struggle. We're talking about a foundation that exists in the situation that's already a positive. What we're going to be looking at first is this card. This will give us kind of the energy of what's going on. And this deck with each card talks about a world, folklore, myth, legend. And so I do want to read from the book with that. We're going to be using another tarot deck to look at the specifics of the situation. Now, in the first 2 piles, we did get more specific. The third pile, it was a little more ambiguous, so we'll see what happens here. Then, after that, we will use these oracle cards to look at what the positive of the situation is. And then we will look at 2 different oracle decks to get advice for you. This is a little bit of a longer reading. I have been reading the oracle cards like intuitively and then going into the booklets because I just felt really called to do that. Sometimes you gather more information that way that can be useful. But buckle in. We're going to be looking at it and seeing what you can kind of anchor yourself to, right? The beauty that you can appreciate that'll make you feel more comfortable, more confident in the situation as you continue along this path. So the King of Coins in reverse. Let's take a look. Oh, and here we just moved on right to it. So it comes from a myth called, let's see, I believe this is the character Ha-Nu-Na, the World Turtle. It's from North America, which, also called Turtle Island. And it's from an Iroquois myth. And it says, the King of Coins represents stability and faithfulness. The world turtle is strong enough to support the weight of others' hopes and dreams. He may not be an active participant in their lives, but he is always dependable, slow, and steady. Now, we do have this card in the reversed position, so we're looking at corruption, materialism, ruthlessness, authority, and indulgence. Those are key factors that may be playing in a role in your situation, but we're going to get into tarot, another tarot deck, to look at the specifics of that. All right. All these years of doing this, and you'd think I'd get better at shuffling. Nope. Tell us about pile four's struggle. Okay, what are they really going through at this time? And this portion of the reading should let you know if this pile is the right pile for you. It should help you feel connected to something in your life, a situation you're going through. If you don't feel connected to this pile through this part of the reading, I would recommend maybe checking out a different pile. Okay, so let's see, what is pile four's? There we go. We've got the Page of Swords. What is pile four's struggle? What are they really going through? Okay, the Queen of Wands in reverse with the Nine of Swords. Oh, that's a lot. I'm not going to take all of those because sometimes having too much information at once can create very confusing narratives. We're going to try to get that clarified a little more precisely. What is group one's struggle? The Six of Swords. Oh, sorry. I'm catching myself doing the sighing a lot more. When I do that, I think it's because it kind of just helps, like, relieve tension. Like breathing exercises. Because I notice that I tend to do it more when I'm, like, thinking at the same time. But I can understand how it would be distracting. All right. I am getting a message here that you're feeling very restricted in something. And I wouldn't be surprised if it has something to do with your career or with some type of material situation. The Page of Swords is really giving me this energy of there's an idea that you have. A communication that you tried to express. This is something fresh, it's something new. But then we've got the Queen of Wands in reverse, which can talk about not being able to take action on it, not being able to pursue a passion. This could even be seen as a figure who is older than you or in a higher position or has access to the resources that you want, who is putting down, I'm getting like the concept of an older internet slang, we would call it like the band hammer. It's kind of like this Page of Swords approached this Queen of Wands and was like, hey, I have this really great idea. And the Queen of Wands was like, absolutely not. Now we've got the Nine of Swords, which talks about just this severe anxiety. The Six of Swords, which talks about moving on, and the Sun in reverse. Now the Sun in reverse is still a positive card. It's considered the Sun is considered the most positive card in the whole deck. But to me, sometimes it can still feel like, even though you know that there are things that you enjoy, it's like there's a little bit of loss there of enjoyment. You see how the Six of Swords is going towards the Sun, but almost like the Sun is setting, you know? I want to see why the Nine of Swords. What's the anxiety surrounding? The Ten of Pentacles in reverse and the Four of Pentacles. Okay, this is like having to really be stingy with your resources. This is having to penny pinch. It's almost like a lot of your foundation was lost. Right? It's you don't feel that you have that anchor anymore. You don't have that padding, that cushioning, what makes you feel safe and secure. And so you're really having to hold tightly onto the resources that you do have. Tell me about that Queen of Wands in reverse. That wanted to come flying out. The Tower in reverse. So it's kind of like either you weren't able to take action on something because you didn't want things to fall apart, or there was someone who didn't want to take a risk on your idea or your offer. Why do we have the Sun in reverse? We've got the World with the King of Swords. And look, this is almost like a little girl here, right? With this older man, just not in a creepy way, but as frames of reference or like juxtaposition one another, because she's got this little rabbit here. And that can talk about like fertility, youth, and then he's got this crow or this raven, and now they're really intelligent animals. And they get a bad rap, but a lot of times they're associated with like death. So it's almost like you're in a position where you kind of have to mind your P's and Q's, because you kind of feel like you don't have the ability to bring fresh ideas or extend yourself outside of a certain frame. It wasn't received well, or you're afraid it might not be received well. And so you're just kind of like holding on to your resources, what you've got left. Either this could be like a job loss, or being overlooked for a job, or like the foreclosure of a home or something. And you're really having to micromanage your finances. And you're trying to like move on, but you know, get over the hurdle here, over the stress. But it's disheartening because like you don't really have room for play anymore. You don't really have room at this point in your life to enjoy things because you're kind of in survival mode. It's like the time for innocence, for creativity is kind of over. And you really have to be sharp-minded. You have to kind of be very logical, contemplative, analytical, straightforward Like it feels like there's no room to screw up. This could also just be like being on thin ice. Maybe you have like a really overbearing family member, or you have an overbearing employer or superior at work. And this could be where it's like you feel like somebody kind of has it out for you, or that maybe your ideas clash. And so you've really kind of developed this mindset of, I have to mask myself around this person. I don't get to contribute in the ways that I want to. It gives the feeling of more like I have to be a grunt. Like I don't feel like I'm a contributing member to the team. I feel like I'm a grunt. Or I feel like I have to be a robot. I don't feel like I am respected as a person. So that's the energy that we are getting here today with this. It does share similarities to pile 2. So you might want to check that out as well. But we will get into the oracle cards to look at what are the positives you can focus on to kind of diminish how heavy this situation feels. Although I will interrupt myself and say there are very clear differences. So if this situation, you are like dealing with like finances or something, but this situation isn't necessarily pertaining to something going on in your life, you might be drawn to pile 2. But anyway, let's look at the cards here. We've got courage with 37. I'm going to put these up here. We've got dreams. We've got Rita of, I'm going to mispronounce this, I apologize, but Caskia, the patroness of impossible causes. I am miraculous. My prayers create powerful channels of possibility. And number 16, the pomegranate tree with wealth. Complete harmony and the oneness of the universe attracts love in romance, family, and acquaintance. Okay. So first and foremost, group number 4. One thing for you to reflect on, I think you should feel a sense of pride in yourself. Because whatever the situation is, you have expressed extreme courage. Because I do feel that, you know, if this is a situation where you have lost like a home or a job, you have expressed a lot of courage. And that does kind of, unfortunately, tie into like the struggle that you're going through. And I was trying to avoid that because I don't want to like romanticize struggle. But I think it is increasingly important in your situation to recognize the courage that you have exhibited in this circumstance, because it does feel like you're kind of a little defeated here. Like you are taking the steps necessary to progress out of this situation, whether it's just, you know, finishing up the paperwork, looking for a new home, putting in a new application, doing odd jobs, what have you. But I can tell here with the sun in reverse that it's not pleasurable. Like you're not where you want to be. You're really struggling, and it's kind of like the light has dimmed out of you for a little bit. But you are being very strong in this situation, and I think it's really important to recognize that, because sometimes when we reach these hard moments in life, it can be very discouraging. We feel incredibly helpless, and certainly there are situations and factors outside of ourselves that kind of reduce what we're capable of doing in that particular instance. But that doesn't mean that you have lost all of your capabilities or all of your autonomy. You've done something in this situation that was really brave and really courageous, and I think it's important for you to reflect on that so you continue to harness that power within yourself. Sometimes it can be like a little energy boost, when we reflect on how we stood up for ourselves or how we made a big change or took a big risk. And it helps us hold on to a sense of self, and some motivation. If this is a situation where maybe there is like a superior who is raining on your parade, honestly, or knocking you down, seems like they have it out for you, I think it's really important for you to reflect on the courage that you've had in approaching them. Because if there's someone who is like a superior of yours, or even like a coworker, I suppose, maybe not necessarily at a higher position than you, but I get the sense that they are just kind of a person you already knew was kind of snappy or unbendable, unflexible, somebody who might be, whether it's rigid or somebody who is maybe prone to dramatizing things and making the workplace difficult, and you really stood up in this situation. Even if this person isn't somebody who's out for you, but you just proposed an idea, you took a brave step forward. And sometimes all it takes to make another brave step is to recognize where we've done it once before. It can be disheartening when we've done it and we don't see a positive result from it. But if you did it once, you can do it again. It might even be that getting this job, getting this home, coming up with this idea, whatever, from the very beginning was an act of courage for you. And so take a look at the moments regarding the situation where you stepped out of your comfort zone and you exhibited bravery. Like, I know that's kind of falling into advice area, but your courage is a highlight of this situation. Then we've got dreams. And that seems kind of a little counterproductive at some point, because we're talking about maybe a little bit of a loss here, or a big loss, depending on your circumstance. But I'm getting something for some of you where this has been like a loss of a job or a loss of like a home. This is giving you the opportunity to pursue your dreams. Sometimes we've been bound by things that are like practical, or things that we've just been involved in for so long. And when we are even forcibly freed from those constraints, we are given the ability to pursue new tasks, new ambitions. And I don't necessarily think that the dream that you've had is new, but now you have an opportunity to pursue it. If this is a situation where someone is kind of pushing back on your contribution, or you're feeling underappreciated, or you're nervous about contributing, you're in a situation beyond that. The situation aligns with your dreams in some way. The job that you have, the home that you're living in, the neighborhood you're living in, the hobby that you're pursuing, it's in alignment somehow with your dreams. And so instead of focusing so much on the frustration, right, of somebody maybe disrespecting you, or somebody who is kind of hindering your progression in this. Or instead of focusing on the concern of like, are you experienced enough to contribute to this in a meaningful way? Remember that this situation, like your job, your home, your standing in your community, what have you, is part of your dream path. It's something that you've wanted for a long time. I just saw 2323. Sometimes we can become so frustrated by the pushback or our own insecurities, we forget maybe the reason why we were passionate in the first place, or why we fell in love with this in the first place. Then we've got Rita of Cascia, I keep wanting to say Patronus. Expecto Patronum. But that could be significant for some people, because Patronuses, even though it's not like spelled like this, they are able to break through the darkness of a situation and repel dementors. And the way that you call upon them is by thinking of like your happiest memory, right? But it says, I am miraculous. My prayers create powerful channels of possibility, the patroness of impossible causes. For a lot of you, this is a situation where you were originally kind of the underdog. Like this could be, if this is a school program, you didn't expect to get into this program. You had to fight to earn your way in, right? Or you thought that other people were going to have better qualifications. Maybe you worked really hard at your GPA, or you worked really hard on like your like essay or project or what have you that you needed to submit, and you really felt like you weren't going to be received, but you got in. My brother, he was part of a program where I think there was like 14 people who were admitted into it. And my brother is a smart man. He is. But compared to the other people in the program, he seemed, by all appearances, the least qualified. And this was a highly competitive educational, like academic program. But he made the cut. If this is a job, like maybe you felt like you were not going to get it. You didn't necessarily have the qualifications that they said that they were looking for, but somehow you made it work and you got the position. If this is like a home that you bought, you might have saved up and worked really hard to save up the money to get this home, which, in that situation, of course, it's going to feel really disastrous if like you're losing your home. But this is just a reminder of like, you did something you didn't think you could do, or that on paper wasn't very likely. Okay? And then we have 16, the pomegranate tree with wealth. Complete harmony and the oneness of the universe attracts love in romance, family, and acquaintances. So, and I think at first glance, this is kind of self-explanatory, right? Either like if you have maybe lost a job, this is like, focus on the money that you have. Like it seems as if you've likely saved up a lot of money. So you're not going to really be financially hurting for the moment. Like you are going to have that 10 of Pentacles energy. You're in a better position than a lot of people who've lost jobs, right? If this is about like losing a home, Again, thinking about the wealth that you do have. And, if it's foreclosed, I don't think you get anything back. I don't remember. My mom and I had, when I was 18, we had a house foreclosed. I don't know the logistics of that, but maybe you've had to make the choice to sell a home. And so you can go, okay, at least I've got this money, right? Or even if you've had to foreclose on it, you can find the benefit of like what money you still have. And if this is a situation regarding like a job that you have, or maybe you're feeling frustrated, you can look at it as appreciating the finances that you earn from this career path, because it seems like you're probably making a little bit more money than the average person. Or at the very least, I just keep getting like the 10 of Pentacles, where even if there's this one person who doesn't appreciate you, you've got coworkers or other superiors or customers even who do appreciate you, right? Because we're talking about complete harmony and the oneness of the universe attracts love in romance, family, and acquaintances. So there are significantly more people who appreciate you and value you in this situation than just this one person who doesn't. Or if you're afraid of like not having, or feeling downtrodden about not having contributed something to a project or an idea, what have you, recognize where you have contributed. I would say like you have made pretty significant contributions to this situation. You might be disappointed about this one not making the cut, but you've done a lot, and you are a foundational resource for this position, for this company, for this program, for this path. So let's get into, and okay, for those of you where you're a student, definitely think about that money, right? Like, you're in a field where you've gotten into this prestigious program that's going to help you out in the employment world. It's going to help you build that financial foundation for yourself. So let's just get to reading some of these booklets. So we've got courage. You are being invited to summon your courage and take the next right action. Drawing this card can be nudging you to let go of any fears you are having and boldly move ahead. This is your moment to seize the day, live your dreams, and step forward with confidence. And look at that, we have dreams right there. You can meditate on this symbol and mantra whenever you need a boost of encouragement. So lightning. The lightning bolt is a symbol of courage and was inspired by a fictional cartoon character and a real-life character in my life. This card is dedicated to one of my first loves, Dennis, aka Shazam, the boy who was never afraid to try something new. A forever inspiration on this wild journey of life, rest, and power. Right, and that's beautiful too. Okay, so this could be a situation where this was you trying something new, especially if maybe your family didn't approve of it and you tried a different career path. And so you were true to yourself, and that took courage. Then we've got dreams. Isis, giver of life and diviner of magic, is depicted standing motionless in a haunting moonlit river. Celebrated for her archetypal feminine powers of healing, Isis was often portrayed wearing a throne-like headdress. Red is the color of life force, passion, and forward movement, and Isis clasps a bundle of fragrant red rose petals to her chest. Like thoughts and dreams, they fall silently to the water's surface to be carried to a new destination by the river. Her inquiring eyes are fixed on the far distance, as if transported by deep contemplation. The surrounding watery blue landscape of river and moon represents the realms of the unconscious mind, psyche, and dreams. Modern times have seen the decline of sacred values, traditions, and spiritual beliefs that help keep us nurtured. Surviving the challenges of the physical life can be overwhelming at times. Our feelings of being almost robotically governed by the constraints of practicality, logic, and duty allow little time for what appears to be the seemingly indulgent and magical act of dreaming. We just literally talked about feeling like a robot, right? However, a dream is merely a goal without feet, and it is often through the creative power of dreams that we find the courage to begin their realization. Oh my God, you guys, that's beautiful. Courage, like the courage card referenced dreams, and the dreams card referenced courage. Many people will tell you that the greatness of their success began with a dream. The dreams card signifies that now may be time to make a significant decision or to rethink your direction and make some changes which, however small, could lead to larger things. The inclusion of dreams in any equation can make the difference between a good decision and a great one. Be aware of the power and potential that this card invites you to dream. In the words of Sarah Bon Breathnock, the world needs dreamers and the world needs doers, but above all, the world needs dreamers who do. Okay, then we have Rita of Cascia. So, Saint Rita of Cascia's life demonstrates the power of prayer to shift even what appears to be an impossible cause. She was born Margherita Lotti in 1381 in Italy to noble parents. She is associated with bees because as a child it is said that they swarmed her but never stung her, and bees are symbolic of Mary and the diligent work that must be done to gather honey, or the immortal sweetness of Christ's love. Although Rita wanted to enter a convent, she was forced to marry Paolo Mancini and had her first child at age 12. Her husband was a wealthy nobleman who had many enemies in Cascia. Rita endured abuse and infidelities, but through prayer and kindness, she converted him to Catholicism. He then renounced the family feud known as La Vendetta. Even though Paolo had become a new man, a member of the feuding family murdered him for his previous acts. Rita's two sons wanted to avenge their father's death, but before they could, both died of dysentery. After the death of her husband and sons, Rita wanted to enter the monastery of Saint Mary Magdalene in Cascia. She was given the condition that her family had to reconcile with the family that had killed her husband before she could gain entrance. Rita prayed to her patron saints John the Baptist, Augustine of Hippo, and Nicholas of Tolentino to assist her in creating peace between the two rival families. The bubonic plague was ravaging Italy at this time and happened to take several members of both families. This was enough hardship that they agreed to relinquish the feud. Rita entered the St. Mary Magdalene Monastery at the age of 36. Catholic legend says she was transported into the monastery by her three patron saints via levitation. And legend also relates that while she was meditating on Christ at age 60, a ray of light pierced between her eyes. The stigmata remained there until her death of tuberculosis in the monastery in 1457. Despite popular belief, Saint Rita isn't about suffering or martyrdom, not in this context. Here, she is about the miracles that happen when we choose to be steadfast about something or someone. This does not mean remaining in a situation that is harmful to us. It means knowing that we can believe anything is possible and that everyone is ultimately forgivable. Because forgiveness isn't about someone else, it's about freeing ourselves. We might have to draw fierce boundaries and possibly never see this person again, but we can pray from any distance that a light larger than our own transforms them, that a love that's greater than what we alone can hold and have for them might offer them a new life. Saint Rita is asking us foremost to never give up on what we want for ourselves, and she is suggesting that the path to what we desire is in our belief that it is still possible. We might not know how or when things will align for us, but we can participate in a deep prayer, a bone trust that at some point what we most desire will arrive. And then, what do I believe is possible for my life? I am miraculous. My prayers create powerful channels of possibility. Yeah, I mean, I would gather that there are times in the situation where something seemed impossible and you made it happen, group number 4. So definitely cling to that, anchor onto that, remind yourself of that to give yourself fuel to continue this situation. And then finally we have 16 with the pomegranate tree. Every pomegranate is said to contain one seed from paradise because it is believed to be the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden. A seed of happiness and divine goodness is being sown into your life. The pomegranate, providing fruit and herbal remedies, also indicates fertility. It is a sign that your happiness will grow and your health will be vigorous. Its flame red blossom denotes marriage and love, predicting success in a meaningful love affair. Financial richness is forecast too because a severed pomegranate reveals a wealth of red seeds symbolizing generosity. The sun will shine on you as it must upon the pomegranate tree. Beautiful. Yeah, like you open a pomegranate and, you know, it's just abundant with seeds. And, you know, as much as in Christianity we look at the eating of the fruit of the tree of wisdom as like a negative thing, I've never really seen it as negative. But like you're more aware in this situation, right? Like you have an awareness that could have prevented better, like stronger catastrophe, or like you're aware of something now that you're going through this. So what you can hold on to summarize, moments where you've had courage, whether that was stepping outside of your family's expectations, where you've stood up to this person, where you took a chance on something and you got out of your comfort zone. Something about this is in alignment with your dreams, like something, even if the situation is frustrating, it's a part of the path that you've wanted for yourself, or the removal of this allows you to pursue your dreams. You were somebody who was chosen against all odds, maybe for the job, for an academic program. Maybe you didn't feel like, well, maybe your funds were lower, so you worked really hard. There was something about the situation that was against your odds, and you took the challenge. You really went above and beyond and secured this thing. And then wealth, like you do have a certain level of financial stability, or you have contributions to the situation, or you have connections in this situation that demonstrate to you like how pivotal you are to it, right? Like this one recommendation that didn't pan out, or this one person that might be against you, has nothing on all of the ways in which you have contributed successfully to it, or with all of the people who do value you and appreciate you. All right, so now we're going to get some advice. What advice do you have? And this is going to help you focus on the positive here, right? So we've got, I need to cover this up a little bit. It's not going to be in, oh, look at that, it says lightning bolt. We've got 27 with when grief breeds creativity. So the image of this is a woman who is like naked. You know, you've got this music here, all these flowers. She's got her hoo-ha kind of exposed, and there's a serpent that's kind of making its way there. But we can look at like the depiction of a serpent being like about creativity and transformation. Her feminine area being exposed is like about birthing something, right? So when grief breeds creativity, this is a situation where, you know, your frustration, your grief, we don't want it to close you off. Okay, we don't want you to become this robot or to lose hope. So even though this has been about focusing on the positives here, one way that the universe is encouraging you to do that is look at what's frustrating you, look what's causing you pain, and how can you alchemize that? There's a big focus here on your courage and your resilience. And I think you need to see yourself continue to do that. And I know I hear that phrase like, where it's like, I'm tired, Grandpa. I know you're tired. And it's okay to take a break from that. But the universe is really encouraging you to find inspiration in what's frustrating you and to use it to problem solve so that you can see once again where you have courage and how you overcome impossible causes. Because I have a feeling by allowing grief to breed creativity in this situation, you're not only going to be able to like kind of relieve that anxiety from yourself, you're going to be able to transform this situation. Whether it's saving that home, or finding a better home, or getting a different job, or maybe having a heart-to-heart with that superior who is being too harsh or not taking you into consideration. Maybe unmasking them to maybe some higher superiors, or how do you present your idea in a different way so that it's more received. I feel like this situation isn't completely over, but you can find a way that it benefits you. Okay? So we're going to read from the book here. Dear heart, you are being called into the depths of your emotions to experience a fuller range of you. This can cause discomfort as you deep dive within, grieving a part of you or your life that is dying in this process. But as you move through the threshold of pain, there is new birth awaiting. Trust this process. Grief is a catalyst for great transformation. If you were not ready for this moment, it would not be arriving. This moment is cracking open portals for more joy, love, and creation. For the deeper you go into the depths of your heart, the more expansive love you will be able to witness and hold. You are here to experience the deep, vast, and wild ocean that is your heart. This is where the seeds of your creations are born, and there is so much wanting to be birthed from this moment. Allow the vulnerability of your love to express itself however you are guided, what wants to be written from the depths of your heart at this time. Allow it to spill out into the rivers of potential, filling pages with your story, for your story is an inspiration to others and will help them feel less alone as they move through their own initiations of life. Have the courage to swim in all of it. Courage again. However messy, intense, or painful this time may be. The light of your love will always sustain you, even in the darkest moments. Now, this is a ritual that could be helpful. Close your eyes and connect to your breath. Bring your awareness to your heart. Call upon the spirit of the rains by stating the following. I call upon the rain spirits to wash over me, to cleanse and nourish my heart. Imagine rain washing over you and filling your heart with liquid streams of light. Rest in this energy for a moment. Now, bring your awareness to your sacral chakra or womb. From this space, visualize all the things you are ready to birth into the world, all the seeds of creation that are now ready to sprout. Send all this abundant creative energy up into all your chakras. You can imagine this as light or like a plant growing up from your sacral chakra to your crown. Feel into the expanse of this energy. Take your time, and when you are finished, give yourself a hug and honor your needs however they arise. And you can screen grab that or pause it and read that for yourself if you'd like. Now we are going to get into another deck. We want some advice for group 4. Okay, we've got Putrefaction, which is the shadow release. Card number 37, 37, 37. That might be confirmation for some of you. So this is, we've got the world here. We've got a symbol for death, but with a crown. Allowing cycles to kind of release and cleanse yourself from them. Now, this is part of the Alchemy Ascension cards. Based on ancient Hermetic tradition, these cards detail the stages of alchemy. These are ideal for shadow work, healing, and self-empowerment. And this is like really owning the change, you know, kind of taking ownership of that transformation. You are not like a person who is passive. It's not happening to you, right? Like you are engaging in the process. So, how you view the world is how you view yourself. When the Putrefaction Oracle card shows up, it's time to face the difficult shadows within you and become conscious of what you are projecting into the world. Psychoanalyst Carl Jung described the shadow as our untamed true nature that we hide from the world to feel safe and accepted in our environment. We were just talking about hiding things, right? Kind of minimizing yourself. The authentic side of ourselves is hidden by a mask to protect itself when we experience trauma or challenges. Literally, holy shit, I cannot make this up. This card calls for you to do inner work around how you perpetuate suffering in your own reality. Where are you projecting your own shortcomings, pain, trauma, and angst onto others? Projection occurs when you are triggered and reactive to your outer world. This is because of pain from past traumas or difficulties that are buried beneath the surface. Think of when an objectively beautiful person walks into a room and immediately receives jealousy and judgment from those in the room who feel insecure in themselves. An alchemist will use moments like this as an opportunity to cleanse their shadow through releasing others' opinions. Putrefaction is the fifth phase of alchemy and one of the most emotionally challenging because it requires an honest look within. Scientifically, putrefaction is the decomposition of organic matter. Use your life as a spiritual practice and start to release unconscious patterns. Doing so will create space for new healthy patterns. So this might be a situation where an interaction with someone triggered some old wounds, and you could be projecting a sentiment, like a perspective onto them that wasn't their intention, but it's how you received it. Or because maybe there was some issues with losing a job or your suggestion not being taken, you might be really down on yourself and taking that as like an assessment of your value and your capabilities. And the universe is saying don't do that, right? One situation like this does not mean that you're a failure or that you're not valuable. Putrefaction phase shadow work. Handling difficult emotions is one of the most challenging parts of alchemy, and it's best to not do this alone. Seeking a licensed therapist, healer, mystic, or astrologer can help guide your way through this extremely sensitive phase of the process. Remember that support is available to you and that requesting it is a sign of strength, not weakness. Purge and integrate the dark energy within you. Shift negative projections into self-empowerment, right? When breeds creativity, you can shift negative projections into self-empowerment. Beautiful. So group number 4, this is where I'm going to leave you. If this reading resonated with you, please let me know how in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to be a part of the family and haven't done so, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload a new video. All right, bye.